Chapter 211. Teacher Acknowledgement. To qualify for the 2-star Master Teacher examination, besides possessing 2 supporting occupations, one's cultivation must also be at least of Xianxia realm. Throughout the years, we have visited countless experts to seek advice on our cultivation, but even so, we are unable to make the final breakthrough. Our only hope is with Xianxia. Xianxia nodded his head as well. When one becomes a Xianxia, his lifespan is increased. Just this in itself is an allure that no one is able to resist. Having been stuck in half Xianxia for a very long time, they had visited numerous 2-star master teachers, but even so, were unable to make that final leap forward. A few days ago, when they witnessed Xianxia guide the dying Shen Hong to achieve a breakthrough, they could no longer hold themselves back. Since Shen Hong was able to do it, they are definitely able to do it as well. However, that is only if Xianxia is willing to guide them. No matter what, we should give it another try. Perhaps, we might be able to succeed. Zheng Fei said. Since the moment Xianxia assisted him to reach half Xianxia, the intention to acknowledge him as his teacher had already sprouted in him. But back then, his intentions were disregarded and he didn't dare to ask any further. But now, even Liu Shu and Xianxia are trying hard, so naturally, he can't lag behind them. Alright, let's go and take a look. As they thought of this, the 3 master teachers hesitated no more and headed straight for the mansion. Brother Liu, I've bought the pills. Do you want to reconsider the matter? Are you really going to use it? In Lu Zun's classroom, Wang Chao stared at his good friend with worry. Even though these pills can generate a massive boost in one's cultivation within a short time span, there are heavy repercussions on the user's body. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Receiving the pills from his friend's hands, Lu Zun hesitated for a moment before commanding his students. Shortly, the students, whose name were on the teacher evaluation name list, appeared before him. Zhu Hong, Mo Xiao, Du Lei, Bao Chao, and Kong Jie. Teacher. These 5 stood erect before Lu Zun, and every single one of them exuded a deep and powerful aura. After half a month of cultivation, just like Xingyang and the others, they had all reached Fighter 2 Dan Dantian realm. However, unlike Wang Ying and the others, they had all reached Fighter 1 Dan Jushi realm pinnacle, even before they acknowledged Lu Zun as their teacher, and all they were lacking was just an impetus for their breakthrough. Even Kong Jie, who is slightly inferior to the other 4, with various resources focused on him, managed to achieve a breakthrough. Here is a pill. Consuming this pill expands your Dantian, allowing you to achieve a breakthrough by tonight to reach Fighter 3 Dan Zhenqi realm. This way, you will definitely be able to achieve victory in the teacher evaluation. Lifting the pills in his hands, Lu Zun scanned the faces of his students. Without hiding anything, he spoke of the flaws of the pill as well. However, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Since it is able to help someone achieve a breakthrough so quickly, naturally, there are side effects. After reaching Zhenqi realm, your cultivation speed will be decreased to be 70 of what it was previously. However, as long as I become a master teacher, I will make sure to resolve this issue. I will even accept you as my direct disciples and oversee your training personally. Of course. The choice is up to you. I will not force any of you. If you were to lose, it will only mean that our relationship as teacher and student has come to an end. After which, he placed the pill down and looked at them. Even though he had made his choice and bought the pills, he nevertheless left the final decision in the hands of his students. He desired victory but was still unable to bring himself to force his students to consume the pills against their will. There is a boundary that teachers should never cross. Teachers have their own dignity as well. Having taught innumerable students over so many years, he couldn't bear to stoop to such unscrupulous means for victory. I believe in Lu Laosha. Without hesitating for long, Zhu Hong stepped forward. Training by the conventional route, it is nigh impossible to reach Zhenqi realm without 2 to 3 years of effort. If this pill can allow one to achieve it in a single night, so what if their future cultivation will be affected? Who can guarantee that their cultivation would be smooth sailing? Furthermore, once they become a direct disciple of Lu Laosha, this won't be a problem. When studying under the same teacher, there is a huge difference between a normal student and a direct disciple. Usually, when a teacher imparts knowledge, it was done with hundreds of people in attendance. Thus, it is impossible to offer pointers tailored to personal needs to every single student. In the case of normal students, they will have to undergo trial and error in order to find their way forward. It is as though a huge pot of vegetable being seasoned with the same seasoning. The flavor will only be average at best. However, being a direct disciple is different. It is as though a vegetable specially cooked in a small pot. His teacher holds personal consultations, offering one pointer so that he will not waste his time on useless things. Even if the pill does affect their growth, with this kind of guidance, they will still be in for a bright future. Thinking of this, Zhu Hong made a stand and swiftly swallowed the pill. The pill, upon being placed in his mouth, melted immediately, turning into a surge of unique energy which gushed through his meridians. Seeing that Zhu Hong had made his decision so quickly, Lu Xun nodded his head in satisfaction. He placed his hands on the other party's back and slowly infused Junqi into the other party's body, guiding this surge of energy. After an unknown period of time, with a crisp sound, Zhu Hong stood up abruptly, exhaled a mouthful of turbid breath, and the aura he exuded amplified greatly. Fighter 3 Dan, Xianxia realm. Just as Lu Xun had said, consuming the pill raised his cultivation by an entire level. Incredible! I want to give it a try as well. Witnessing the person achieve a breakthrough successfully, Mo Xiao, Du Lei, Bai Chao, and Kong Jie could no longer hold themselves back and walked forward simultaneously. The rest of them had made up their minds as well. If Lu Laosha really becomes a master teacher, as his direct disciple, their standing would definitely soar by leaps and bounds. With that in mind, they chose to take the pill as well. Soon, all of them reached Fighter 3 Dan Junqi realm. Good, good. Seeing that all 5 students had reached Fighter 3 Dan Junqi realm, Lu Xun's eyes gleamed with excitement. Putting aside the freshmen, their current strength would allow them to compete even against top students who had been in the academy for several years. Tomorrow will be the day where I, Lu Xun, perform before everyone else. I shall astonish the entire academy and silence all of those discussions behind my back. Clenching his fists tightly, Lu Xun regained the confidence which he lost during the day and roared mightily. So what if he is skilled in the way of tea? So what if he is a grandmaster painter? As a teacher, I, Lu Xun, am not inferior to anyone. You 3 master teachers, I will show you tomorrow that I am the best choice you can make. Old master, the 3 master teachers have been waiting for you for a very long time. Returning to the residence, Sun Qiong immediately stepped forward to welcome Xianxia. They are here. He was considering whether to send someone to invite them, but it turned out that the 3 fellows were even more enthusiastic than him. Zhong Xian chuckled lightly. Walking into the lounge, he saw the 3 master teachers seated, and upon seeing Xianxia enter the room, their eyes glittered with excitement. Liu Ling pays respect to Xianxia. The trio bowed immediately. May I know what you 3 have for me, visiting me at such a late hour? Zhong Xian sat down and instructed for a cup of tea. After a long and slow sip, he finally turned to look at them, his expression impassive. After a trip to the Qian residence and the academy, the sun had already set by the time Zhong Xian arrived at the mansion. Xianxia, the 3 of us earnestly wish to acknowledge you as our teacher, and we hope that you can accept us. Liu Ling and the others quickly stood up, clasped their hands, and bowed deeply. Anxious, they sneaked glances at Zhong Xian. Age doesn't determine knowledge. Even though they are significantly older than Xianxia, the other party is clearly more capable than them. Age isn't a determining factor for one to acknowledge a teacher. You wish to acknowledge me as your teacher. Lifting his cup, Zhong Xian removed the floating tea leaves elegantly. Even as he spoke those words, there wasn't the slightest hint of emotion on his face. After having disguised himself for the past few days, he is no longer the amateur whom anyone could see through easily. Every single movement of his carries authority and magnanimity. The atmosphere in the room stilled. Yes. Even though the 3 of us aren't talented, we can serve by your side and share your burdens. The breathing of the 3 master teachers hastened. The last few times that they were here, they did express their intention to acknowledge Xianxia as their teacher, but they hadn't spoken of it clearly. Now that they've said it out loud, if they were to get rejected, it would be over. If I'm not wrong, the reason why you all wish to acknowledge me as your teacher is that your cultivation has reached a bottleneck, and you are unable to achieve a breakthrough. If you were to become my student, you might be able to make this final step and advance further." Without even lifting his head, Xianxia's voice was indifferent, as though a block of silent ice. "Ah, yes." Having their intentions exposed, Liu Ling and the others blushed in embarrassment. "Seems that you are honest." Seeing that they didn't deny the matter, Xianxia nodded his head. "We hope that Xianxia can fulfill our wish." Liu Ling and the others gritted their teeth. Xianxia didn't reply. Instead, he slowly put down his teacup, stood up, and walked to the center of the room. The three master teachers were wondering what he was going to do when a calm voice suddenly sounded. "I, Xianxia, have traveled and visited countless countries. I prefer to live a quiet and tranquil life, so I don't reveal my identity easily. You probably haven't heard of my name, even in the other countries, am I right?" "Yes." When they heard the name Xianxia, they had specially looked into the matter, but there isn't such a person in the surrounding kingdoms. Back then, they thought that the latter was simply using this fake name to impersonate a master teacher, but from the looks of it now, it seems like Xianxia had just been keeping a low profile. "If I don't want others to know that I am a master teacher, even if you were to check with the master teacher pavilion, you won't be able to find anything," Xianxia said. "However, in Xianxia Kingdom, I revealed my identity, even helping others with their problems. Do you know why?" The reason why Xianxia said all of that in advance was to lay the foundations so that they wouldn't doubt his identity. After all, the name Xianxia is fake, and they won't be able to find this name in the Master Teacher Pavilion if they were to check. With these words, not only would the other party not doubt his words when they are unable to find it, they will even feel reverence for him. For his identity to be unable to found in the Master Teacher Pavilion. How incredible does he have to be? "We apologize for our ignorance." Liu Ling and the others stared at Xianxia. Actually, they had felt perplexed on this point as well. If such an incredible master teacher really chooses to blend in with the crowd, who will be able to tell his true identity? Yet, everyone in Xianxia Kingdom found out about his identity. During my travel, I happened to meet a competent youngster. Very satisfied with him, I accepted him as my direct disciple. However, I won't be staying here for long, and afraid that he might be oppressed by others, I revealed my status intentionally so as to give him a title. With both hands behind his back, Xianxia stood erect at the center of the hall, as though a towering mountain. A competent youngster accepted him as a direct disciple. Liu Ling and the others stared at one another. Suddenly, they thought of something and their eyes narrowed. Can it be that? Can it be that Yangxia's direct disciple is Hongqian Academy's Zhongxian Laosha? If that is the case, everything makes sense. For a low-level teacher at a remote kingdom to be able to come up with such incredible theories and become a grandmaster painter, expert tea master, and more importantly, reject the apprenticeship of the three master teachers. Probably, only a student of Xianxia is able to do so. Xianxia was delighted to observe that the other side had caught quickly, and he was able to save his saliva, nodding his head in satisfaction. Xianxia is my direct disciple. If you want to come under my tutelage, that would mean that he's your senior. Chapter 212. The teacher evaluation arrives. Senior. The mouths of the three master teachers twitched and their bodies swayed. The twist came too abruptly. They were thinking of accepting the other party as their apprentice when all of a sudden, he had become their senior. To call a fellow who isn't even 20 their senior? The three master teacher felt dizzy. They found the relationship extremely peculiar. However, the bizarre expression on their face merely flickered on their faces for an instant. Agitation and excitement took over their expressions. Does Xianxia mean that you are willing to accept us? Liu Ling suddenly came to a realization. Trembling in agitation, his face creased so tightly together that it seemed to be able to squeeze a mosquito to death. Since Xianxia had told them to address Xianxia as their senior, doesn't this mean that he is willing to accept them as his student? Thank you, Xianxia. Zhuangxian and Zhang Fei immediately knelt to the floor. Even though the other party hadn't expressed his intentions clearly, he wasn't objectionable to the issue. If they don't hurry up and the other party changes his mind all of the sudden, won't they cry themselves to death? These two fellows. Seeing his old buddies react so quickly, Liu Ling quickly followed suit and knelt down as well. Zhong Xian didn't turn around, and his expression remained completely calm. Since you have all become my students, I will assist you with your cultivation. However, I am used to wandering about and I won't be staying here for long. Even though Zhong Xian is my direct disciple, he is way too young and his cultivation is still immature. He might require your assistance. Teacher, rest assured. Since we've come under your tutelage, we will definitely follow your rules. Given that Zhong Xian is our senior now, as long as it is within our capabilities, we will make sure to assist him. Liu Ling and the others expressed their sentiments. There is a set of rules that when a master teacher accepts a disciple, a direct disciple is a rank higher than that of normal students. That is to say, even if the direct disciple is the youngest of the lot, before the other students, he is still considered the senior. Even though it sounds peculiar, there had been many of such exceptions in the master-teacher pavilion, so it isn't anything significant. Since they had decided to acknowledge Xianxia as their teacher, Zhong Xian would naturally become their senior. Thus, as juniors, they wouldn't spare any effort to assist him. Yuan, show me your battle technique. Having confirmed the teacher-student relationship with the trio, Zhong Xian nodded his head in satisfaction. Yes. Knowing that Xianxia was going to guide them on their cultivation, they stood up immediately and excitedly. It didn't take long before the rustling of wind sounded in the room as the trio displayed their battle techniques. After an unknown period of time, the trio clasped their hands and took their leave. Even though they were still half Xianxia and they had yet to achieve a breakthrough, the excitement on their faces was almost impossible to hide. Actually, Zhong Xian was capable of helping the trio reach Xianxia realm on the spot, but if he were to do so, his pure Xianxi and low cultivation realm would be exposed. This could have potentially led to countless troubles in the future. After some contemplation, he decided to simply point out the flaws in their cultivation. In his words, having pointed out their flaws, and it is a trial to the trio to achieve a breakthrough with the new knowledge. As one-star master teachers, if they are unable to achieve a breakthrough even after knowing all these, it would show that there are fundamental flaws in their talents, and he would have to reconsider his decision to accept the trio as his students. Hearing those words, the three master teachers didn't dare to say anything. They listened attentively to the flaws the other party spoke of, afraid that they would mishear anything. However, now that they know where their mistakes lie, given their knowledge and comprehension on cultivation, reaching Xianxia realm becomes only a matter of time. Old Master, Emperor Shenzui is waiting outside. Zhong Xian was about to rest after dealing with the three master teachers when Sun Qiong came in with the report. He's here. Can it be? Zhong Xian's eyes lit up. Have him enter. Xianxia. Soon, Emperor Shenzui walked in, clasped his hands, and bowed. His gaze was filled with passion and reverence. Not only did he save the dying old ancestor, he even helped him reach Xianxia realm. Those feats are something that even a two-star master teacher would find hard to accomplish. Perhaps the person standing before him is a three-star master teacher, or even someone much more incredible. Even the emperor of a Tier 1 kingdom would find it hard to meet someone of his caliber. Reporting to Xianxia, I have managed to gather the Tongxian realm secret manuals that you had me collect. Zhong Xian's eyes lit up. His condition for treating Shenhong was for Shenzui to collect these Tongxian realm cultivation technique manuals in his stead. It has been a few days since then, and given the influence of the royal family, collecting thousands of such books wasn't any issue. Xianxia, please look through them. As Shenzui gestured with his hand, thousands of books stacked up in a pile before him. He brought all of the books in his storage ring. UN. Walking forward to pick up a few books, Zhong Xian quickly flipped through them, placed them down, and proceeded to do the same with other books. From the very start, when Xianxia had made such a request, Emperor Shenzui was already perplexed why such an incredible master teacher would need Tongxian realm secret manuals. Upon seeing this situation, his confusion worsened. If the other party opens the book and reads through them, Emperor Shenzui could have attributed the matter to him studying. But to flip through them just like that, what is he doing? Even though Emperor Xianxia was perplexed, he didn't dare to mention anything. He stood obediently by the side, quietly observing. Hualala, hualala. In a single go, Xianxia flipped through the thousands of secret manuals. Even though the manuals gathered were rather average in standard, the quantity more than made up for it. Given that Xianxia possessed the library of Heaven's Path, it is the best situation that could have happened. Correct. With a jolt of his mind, the books converged to form a single entity in the library. Tongxian Realm Heaven's Path Divine Art. All right, I'm done. You can take them away. Zhongxian casually waved his hands. Since he had already created replicas of all of the books in the library, there was no need for him to keep the physical copies. This. Emperor Xianxia was taken aback. In order to gather all of these secret manuals, he had paid quite a substantial amount. Initially, he thought that Xianxia would at least take a look. In the end, he simply casually flipped through them and returned them to him. Are these books not to your liking? If so, I can search for more. After hesitating for a moment, Emperor Xianxia couldn't help but ask. There's no need. I'm already done reading these books, you can take them back. Zhongxian casually waved his hands. Done, reading these books. Emperor Xianxia nearly fell to the ground. What can you possibly have read like that? Casually flipping through those books like that, and you say that you are done reading them. Do your eyes grow on your hands? Yes. Even though he felt so stifled that he could spurt blood, he dared not to question any further. He kept all of the books in his storage ring, clasped his hands, and said, Then, I'll be taking my leave. UN. Zhongxian casually waved him away. Emperor Xianxia returned back to the royal palace immediately after leaving the mansion. Have you passed the books to Xianxia? Old ancestor Shen Hong walked over. I passed him the books, but he didn't want them and he gave them back. Even until now, Emperor Xianxia had maintained his confused expression. Gave them back. Is Xianxia unsatisfied with the books? That's not it. Then, has he finished reading them? He didn't read through them at all. Didn't read through them at all? Then, what did he want the books for? Shen Hong was perplexed. He simply fiddled around with it. Fiddled. Shen Hong blinked his eyes. I can understand if you wish to fiddle around with beautiful ladies, but why did you fiddle around with those books? Indeed, it is impossible for us to understand the minds of geniuses. After contemplating over the matter for an extremely long time, they finally arrived at this conclusion. After Emperor Xianxia left, Zhongxian told Sun Qiong that he would not be seeing anyone else, before returning to his room. Time to cultivate. Zhongxian immediately turned his attention to the 7 Dan Heaven's Path Divine Art which was just formed. The opening of acupoints, the connecting of the meridians, allowing Xianxia to flow without any hindrance, that is Tongxian. The words appeared clearly in his mind. As this version of Heaven's Path Divine Art was formed by compiling thousands of secret manuals together, there were no problems with it all. Zhongxian read and cultivated via the method explained within simultaneously. Pure Xianxia began to circulate within his body, and according to the unique cultivation method written in the perfect manual, the Xianxia revolved unceasingly. Boom! With just a single circulation, he had barged through the bottleneck and spiritual energy in the air surged into his body with hysteria. His Xianxian strength improved exponentially. Tongxian Realm Primary Stage. Tongxian Realm Intermediate Stage. In no time, he had achieved Tongxian Realm Pinnacle. Along with the rise in my cultivation, my speed of improvement is slowing. Feeling that his cultivation had reached another bottleneck, Zhongxian stopped. As Zhongxian had to deduce the correct acupoints one by one in Pishua Realm, it wasn't an accurate gauge of his cultivation speed. On the other hand, when he was at Dingli Realm, cultivating via the complete version of Heaven's Path Divine Art, he took around 2 hours, but now, it took a whole 10-minute longer. Looks like the higher one's cultivation reaches, the more difficult it is to cultivate. Zhongxian lamented with a grim expression. If anyone else were to know his thoughts, they would definitely want to strangle him to death. You call an additional 10 minutes difficult? Even top-notch geniuses, with the augmentation of countless treasures, to cultivate from Tongxian realm primary stage to pinnacle would take a minimum of 10 years of hard work. Yet, you only took 10 minutes more than 2 hours, and you think that your cultivation speed has slowed. The heck, why don't you go and die? I should check out how much my strength has improved. Zhongxian stood up and walked over to the strength-measuring rock pillar. Using just the strength from his Xianxia, he sent his fist into it. Wang! A line of numbers slowly floated into view. 600 ding. A look of delight immediately appeared on Zhongxian's face. At Pishua Realm Pinnacle, he had opened 108 acupoints, granting him an additional 108 ding of strength. In addition to the previous 20 ding, he possessed a total of 128 ding of Xianxia strength. Now that he has achieved a breakthrough, his strength increased by several folds. Usually, a Tongxian realm expert would possess 100 ding of strength at primary stage, 200 ding at intermediate stage, 300 ding at advanced stage, and 400 ding at pinnacle. With a Xianxia strength of 600 ding, Zhongxian is able to match up to a half Xianxia. A Xianxia expert wields tremendous strength, and their blows easily exceed 1,000 ding. Those who possess strength between 400 ding and 1,000 ding are known as half Xianxia. If he were to add the 90 ding of strength from his physical body, his strength would almost reach 700 ding. With such strength, his prowess would be the top few even among half Xianxias. Finally, I possess the power to protect myself. Now that he has such commensurate and mighty power, coupled with his library of Heaven's Path ability to see through flaws, he can finally stand against top-notch experts within the country. Zhongxian heaved a sigh of relief. Even since he noticed the poison aura within his body, the fear that someone is trying to kill him had been plaguing his mind. Without sufficient strength, if the enemy were to make another attempt, he definitely won't be able to resist. Now that Zhongxian holds strength comparable to a half Xianxia, he finally regained his sense of security. After reinforcing his cultivation and adapting to his newfound strength, Zhongxian walked out of the room. Unknowingly, a day had passed, and the sun was rising slowly from the east. Its radiance spilled over the horizon, and scene of tranquility formed in the city. To think that it is already dawn. Looking at the rising sun, Zhongxian realized that the freshman tournament and the teacher evaluation which he had waited for half a month has arrived. Chapter 213. The shocked Xianxia is Pavilion Elder Qian's son. Initially, he had intended to slack off and take a good rest today, but his father forcefully dragged him to the teacher evaluation, filling him with resentment. Father, you could have just asked someone to report the result of the teacher evaluation. There isn't any need for you to come here personally. Indignance showed through Xianxia's face. No matter what, you're one of the few subjects whom His Majesty values highly. You didn't even attend the duel between the North Marquis and Swift General previously, so why would you spectate some trivial duels among students? He really couldn't understand his father's thoughts. For a pavilion elder who doesn't even need to bow down to His Majesty, he was able to even skip attending a duel between Tier 1 officials in the royal court. Yet, of all things he could have done, he chose to watch students battle one another. Even though the teacher's prestige are at stake at the teacher evaluation, it is in actual fact just a few students fighting one another. A matter of such level should just be left to his subordinates. Why does the Commander-in-Chief have to appear personally for such a small matter? He would just scare others with his presence. This is a 3-star incident. I have to be here personally. Pavilion Elder Qian replied. I know that it is a 3-star incident. Everything that concerns the Academy will have the incident elevated by a single star, and Luzun Laosha is a star teacher, which adds another star. In truth, it is merely a 1-star incident. Qian Chao curled his lips in disdain, thinking nothing much of this matter. Under normal situation, 1-star incidents do not need to be reported to His Majesty. If Pavilion Elder Qian were to personally attend to matters of such insignificance, won't he tire himself to death? This isn't that simple. Pavilion Elder Qian harumphed. How complicated can the matter get? It is just a duel between students. I don't believe that the severity of the matter can get as serious as the duel between North Marquis and Swift General. You must know, back then, just the number of Tier 2 officials who participated in the matter added up to a total of 12. It is definitely the greatest jewel of the year. Xianxia still didn't think that this matter was worthy of such consideration. The North Marquis and Swift General are Tier 1 officials of the kingdom, and the news of the duel was announced beforehand. Countless experts went to spectate the match, but this old man of his refused to go, saying that the matter didn't have enough stars and wasn't worthy of his consideration. Yet, he decided to watch the fight among a few students. Xianxia started to doubt whether his father is getting senile. This morning, I received news that clan head Wang Hong of the 4 great clans, clan head Bai Ming, and the elders of both clans had arrived at the Hongqian Academy. This shows how much they value this matter. Do you think that there is no reason for me to be here? Pavilion Elder Qian said. Clan head Wang Hong is a Tongxian realm pinnacle expert. He is one of the most influential figures, even when considering the entire kingdom into account. Even though clan head Bai Ming's standing is beneath that of clan head Wang Hong, he is nevertheless an official apothecary and is of esteemed standing. You say that they have come to the school to spectate the battle between a few students. Xianxia didn't believe Pavilion Elder Qian's words. Even though these 2 clan heads don't hold official positions, their true standing isn't inferior to Tier 1 officials of the royal court. How can people of such esteemed standing be interested in a duel between mere students? Take a look yourself. After turning around a bend, they arrived at the Hongqian Academy dueling platform. The spectator stand was already packed with people. Pavilion Elder Qian casually pointed. I doubt there will be many people in the VIP seats. Muttering to himself, Xianxia took a glance at the seats and his body froze in shock. Clan head Wang Hong and clan head Bai Ming are really here. That is Guild Leader Ouyang? Why is Guild Leader Ouyang of the Apothecary Guild here as well? There is also Apothecary Meng Yang, Apothecary Lin Mu, Apothecary Jin Chen. How can this be possible? Initially, he thought that mere duels among students wouldn't attract much attention. However, with a single look, not only did he notice a clan head of the 4 great clans, more than 10 apothecaries, including the guild leader of the Apothecary Guild, are present as well. What is going on? Apothecaries, as one of the top occupations among the upper 9 paths, possess noble standing. Even Emperor Xianxia finds it hard to arrange a meeting with a figure like guild leader Ouyang, yet he is here watching a bunch of kids fighting one another. Unable to believe his eyes, he felt his head begin to spin. Not just them, look over there. Before he could recover from his shock, Pavilion Elder Qian pointed in another direction. Looking toward the direction where the finger was pointed, Xianxia shuddered once more. His mouth quivered in astonishment. The kingdom's #1 physician, Master Yuanyu? That is Elder Tian? He didn't even appear for His Majesty's birthday banquet the last time, coming up with various excuses. Yet, why would he? A moment ago, Xianxia was still thinking that his father is making a big fuss out of nothing. Yet, he now finds himself nearly dying from overwhelming shock. Master Yuanyu is a powerful figure that even His Majesty has to treat with utmost respect. As for Elder Qian, even His Majesty finds it hard to obtain a single sip of the tea he brews. It is clear just how incredible his standing is. Yet, 2 amazing figures stood patiently on the spectator stand, waiting. Can anyone tell me what is going on? Are you for real? Who are those sitting over there? Why did so many people give up their seats for them? I have no idea as well. They are probably of high standing. He was about to die from shock when Xianxia suddenly heard the student's exclamation. Lifting his head to take a look, he staggered once more. The three master teachers? They're here as well. What appeared in his vision were the 3 elders. If the few people before had only caused him to be shocked, seeing the 3 master teachers here made him horrified. They are master teachers. They are incredible powers who can disregard his father altogether. Yet, such figures, just like the many others, are seated on the spectator's stand. However, this wasn't the end. He soon saw 2 middle-aged men take a seat. They, Emperor Xianxia and City Lord Zhao Feng of Baiyu City. His throat felt dry. He thought that it was embarrassing for his father to lower his status to attend such a lowly event. Yet, even His Majesty and City Lord Zhao Feng had come personally. Baiyu City is the second largest city of Xianxia Kingdom, and its city lord's position is second only to the emperor. Is this really just a duel between students? Even if the princes were to battle one another, it wouldn't be such a huge occasion. Actually, the one who holds the most esteemed position among the crowd isn't His Majesty or the three master teachers, it is that person. Seeing his son getting so terrified over the figures who had appeared here, Pavilion Elder Qian spoke. Qian Chao hurriedly looked over and saw an unimpressive plump man. He is. Knowing that his father has a huge intelligence network and it is impossible for him to say such words for no good reason, Qian Chao asked. He is Xianxia's butler, Sun Qiong. His presence represents Xianxia. Pavilion Elder Qian said slowly. Represents Xianxia. Qian Chao swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The Xianxia who kept Emperor Shenzui at his entrance. Xianxia's affairs had spread like wildfire, and it was natural that Qian Chao had heard of it. Liu Shi and the others had paid him a visit and admitted that they were inferior to him. Even Emperor Shenzui had to queue outside for an audience with him. For such an incredible master teacher to send his butler here. Qian Chao's body trembled. He was unable to understand why the attention of so many powerful figures were fixated on this duel. Is this really a 3-star incident? Even though it was classified as a 3-star incident, from the looks of it now, it is already a 5-star incident. A grim look appeared on Pavilion Elder Qian. Only a 5-star incident can create such a huge commotion and attract so many noble figures. Can it be Lu Xun Laosha? After contemplating over the matter, Qian Chao asked with a trembling voice. Lu Xun is a celebrity teacher, and his reputation resounds throughout the kingdom. Can it be his prestige which attracted so many people here, and forcefully pulled a 3-star incident up to a 5-star incident? I also find this matter peculiar. Even though he has a huge reputation, I don't think that he's sufficiently qualified. Right now, my doubts are on Zhongshen Laosha. Pavilion Elder Qian hesitated for a moment before speaking. It is true that Lu Xun is famous, but at the very most, he can only attract the attention of Wang Hong, Bai Ming, and a few others. It is impossible for guild leader Ouyang and the apothecaries to have come for him. Needless to say, Emperor Shenzui, Elder Qian, and Yangshi's butler, Sun Qiong. Since it isn't him, it has to be his opponent. Zhong Laosha. The teacher with a terrible reputation. Zhong Xian. Hearing the unfamiliar name, Qian Chao was stunned. If what his father said is true, then to be able to attract the presence of so many powerful figures for his affair. How did that fellow do it? He isn't the only one who is on the verge of going insane. The numerous teachers of the academy are also tugging at their hair frenziedly. Are you sure that it isn't the principal dueling with someone else? Otherwise, why would the emperor, 3 master teachers, Elder Qian, Master Yuanyu, and so many amazing figures appear here? Reverting back to his original look, Zhong Xian led Zhao Yue and the others to the dueling platform. Looking at the crowd on the seats, the excited Emperor Shenzui and the others, a peculiar expression appeared on him. This is the teacher evaluation between me and Lu Xun. What are that bunch of fools doing here? Chapter 214. Yuan Dao vs. Kong Jie on the spectator stand. A sliver of worry and agitation appeared on Shun Bai Yu's impeccable face. After the Enlightenment Will trial, she had matters to attend to and left Qianxian Royal City. When she returned yesterday, she heard of the teacher evaluation immediately and nearly fainted from shock. Is this Zhong Xian insane? Who is Lu Xun? He is the living signboard for Hongqian Academy, a true celebrity teacher. To be pitting against him. Does he wish to be shamed that much? Moreover, he had specially poached several students to specifically counter Zhao Yue and the rest. Why are you that rash? Gritting her jade teeth tightly, Shunbai Yu recalled what happened yesterday and felt even more stifled. After knowing of the news, she went to find Zhong Xian to persuade him, but the other party was out. She waited an entire night outside the other party's dormitory. Yet, he didn't come back at all. Tomorrow is the duel, and it is said that Lu Xun had spent the entire night tutoring his students, suffering from a lack of sleep due to that. Yet, you threw your students aside and stayed out. Does anyone prepare for competitions the way you do? Aren't you way too gutsy? Or do you think that the situation is hopeless and that you have given up? After the incidents at the Compendium Pavilion, Hongqian Pavilion, and Enlightenment Will trial, she thought that even though Zhong Laosha had a terrible reputation, he is actually an extremely prudent person. Now, it turns out that, prudent your ass. Who has ever seen a person disappearing for several days right before a competition? What exactly are you thinking? Why do you seem out of sorts the moment you return? She was burning with anger within when a beautiful face suddenly appeared before her. The other stunner of the academy, Han Qiong. Han Qiong is also a rare beauty. In terms of just her appearance, she is slightly inferior to Shun by Ru. However, she is currently 25, the age where a woman's charm shines through. Considering her figure and her feminine charm, the latter would be far from a match. As such, there are many followers of Han Qiong Laosha, and their numbers far surpass that of Shun by Ru. As top-class beauties, the two teachers have a good relationship in private and are bosom friends. Who else can it be except for that Zhong Xian? God knows what that fellow is thinking of, to actually duel with Lu Xun Laosha. Shun by Ru harumphed furiously. If he were to lose, the reputation which he had just built up would be tarnished, and his credibility would crumble. He had just proven at the Enlightenment Will trial that the Education Bureau had framed him. If he were to lose in this duel, all kinds of rumors would be generated and no one would believe his words anymore. From the looks of it, it seems that you are concerned about him. Han Qiong chuckled. A sly grin flashed through her eyes. No one is concerned about him. He is just an arrogant fellow. Shun by Ru harumphed. It's good that you are unconcerned about him. I thought that our great beautician had fallen in love. Han Qiong stretched her back, revealing an astonishingly voluptuous figure. Not lingering on the topic, Han Qiong asked curiously, "Oh right, say. Who do you think will win the duel?" Zhong Xian's 5 students, Zhao Ya, Xingyang, and the others are not bad. However, Lu Xun Laosha had made arrangements to specifically deal with each of them. Mo Xiao and the others are obviously their nemeses. I'm afraid that it is unlikely for Zhong Xian to win. Upon mentioning who would win in the teacher evaluation, the anger and stifled expression that Shun by Ru had before disappeared, and in its place is calmness and intelligence. After hearing of the duel, she looked into the matter and found out about Lu Xun's arrangements. That fellow's actions do indeed appear unscrupulous, but truthfully speaking, this is also the sign of an outstanding teacher. Regardless of who one faces, he should give it his all and vie for all advantages he can possibly get. This is a basic quality that teachers and cultivators should have. Unless. At which, Shun by Ru paused for a moment. Wisdom reflected in her bright eyes and she said, Zhao Ya and the others have reached Fighter 2 Dan. Through the advantage in their cultivation, they might still be able to match up against Lu Xun's students. Lu Xun had specially found students to deal with Zhao Ya and the others. Unless the latter achieves a breakthrough, thus overcoming their opponent's advantages through sheer strength, it is nigh impossible for them to win. You're right. Han Qiong nodded her head in agreement. Look, Zhong Laosha and his students have arrived. What powerful aura! Zhao Ya and the others have actually reached Fighter 2 Dan. But it's impossible. Reaching Fighter 2 Dan in half a month's time. The duo was discussing the teacher evaluation when a commotion suddenly broke out among the crowd. Following immediately, they saw Zhong Xian walking up with Zhao Ya and the others following behind him. At this moment, Zhao Ya, Zhengyang, Wang Ying, and the others were emitting exceptionally powerful auras. Every single gesture of theirs felt mighty and intimidating. Fighter 2 Dan. Except for Yuan Dao, who is at Jushi Realm Advanced Stage, the others have already reached Dantian Realm. This. Shun by Ru and Han Qiong's eyes lit up. Even though Zhong Xian Laosha doesn't look reliable, it seems that he is nevertheless quite capable. Han Qiong smiled. Except for Yuan Dao, who is slightly weaker, the others do possess a chance at victory. Shun Bai Ayu nodded her head in agreement. Halfway through her words, her face suddenly paled. What's wrong? Seeing her good friend fall into such a state, Han Qiong felt baffled. Lu Zun Laosha and his students have arrived. Shun Bai Ayu clenched her fists tightly. Lu Laosha. So what if he comes? Zhao Ya and the others have reached Fighter 2 Dan, so they stand a good chance at victory. Han Qiong chuckled. At this point, she suddenly saw Zhu Hong, Mo Xiao, and the others who followed closely behind Lu Zun, and her mouth twitched. Fighter 3 Dan? All of his students have reached Fighter 3 Dan. At Fighter 3 Dan Xianxia realm, one gains the ability to propel Xianxia and one's strength reaches 300 kilograms. How can Zhong Xian and his students win? The duo froze in astonishment. It is a qualitative difference between 2 Dan and 3 Dan. At 1 Dan Jushi realm, one absorbs spiritual energy and propel it through his body, thus refining his body to that of a fighter, making it suitable for cultivation. At 2 Dan Dantian realm, one's body starts to accumulate spiritual energy at his Dantian, expanding it. At 3 Dan Xianxia realm, one will be able to drive their Xianxia in their body. In terms of physique, reaction speed, or strength, the two prior realms are too far below for comparison. It can even be said that one reaches a whole new level as a life form upon reaching Xianxia realm. If Lu Zun's students were just ordinary mortals before, they are currently comparable to tigers and wolves. How can the Zhong Xian students match up to them under such conditions? Just a moment ago, upon realizing that Zhao Ya and the others have reached Fighter 2 Dan, Shun Bai Ayu and Han Qiong thought that it is likely that Zhong Xian wins. But from the looks of it now, it would be a miracle if he can even win a single match. They're not a single chance at victory. If he wants to win, only if a miracle happens. Shun Bai Ayu smiled bitterly. Previously carrying hope for Zhong Laosha's victory, she doesn't dare to harbor such thoughts now. The two beauties were indescribably astounded. The other teachers who are spectating the fight became dumbfounded as well. In an instant, the entire surroundings turned silent. All of them glanced at Zhong Xian with eyes of sympathy. To be competing with Lu Zun Laosha, he sure is looking for trouble. Fighter 2 Dan against Fighter 3 Dan? It would be hard for Apothecary Zhong to win. Just like the other teachers, Guild Leader Ouyang and Apothecary Du Man glanced at one another and shook their heads simultaneously. Indeed, the two are entirely different levels. There is no hope of victory. Looks like Apothecary Zhong will lose. The other apothecaries also arrived at the same conclusion, and they sighed in lamentation. With just the appearance of Zhong Xian and Lu Zun on the field, many people have already come to the verdict that the scale of victory is tilted toward Lu Zun. Today is the day of the freshman tournament. But before that, we shall first hold a competition between the teachers, the teacher evaluation between Lu Zun Laosha and Zhong Xian Laosha. Seeing that the two stars of the show had arrived, the principal, who hadn't appeared in public for a very long time, stood at the dueling platform, and his voice resounded across the entire academy. Hearing his words, Zhong Xian and Lu Zun led their students onto the dueling platform, and the both of them sat by the side of the ring. The teacher evaluation is a battle between students. Teachers are not allowed to interfere in the battle at all and can only sit by the side. Naturally, the duels between the students are only a part of the teacher evaluation. There are also written papers, potential assessments, and similar trials. However, as cultivators value strength greater than anything else, even if they were to triumph over their opponent in the latter examinations, it wouldn't be a glorious victory. Who wants to go first? Zhong Xian paid no heed to the surrounding discussions. Rather, he looked at his 5 students calmly. Allow me. Yuan Dao stood forward. Zhong Xian nodded his head. Zhong Xian is confident in the other party's abilities now that his emperor bloodline has been awakened. Kong Jie, go up. Defeat that worst student of the academy. Seeing the other party had sent the fellow who is ranked the last in the entrance examination out first, Lu Zun sneered coldly. After a night of individual tutoring, His 5 students had already reinforced their Fighter 3 Dan Xianxia primary realm cultivation, and they had already gotten used to propelling the Xianxia in their body. With their strength, defeating a couple of Fighter 2 Dan isn't a problem at all. Later on, when you suffer a crushing defeat, I'll see how you are qualified to become the apprentice of the 3 master teachers. A cold gleam flashed across his eyes, and Lu Xun sneered. All of his hard work is for today. When his students defeat Xianxia in public, that fellow will be humiliated, making it impossible for him to become the apprentice of the 3 master teachers. By then, everyone will know that he, Lu Xun, is an invincible existence in Hongqian Academy. Senior Kong, please go easy on me. Staring at the opponent before him, Yuan Dao looked at him with a pitiful expression. Look at how plump I am, my cultivation is only at Fighter 1 Dan as well. Go easy. The edges of Kong Jie's lips curled up. His disdain for the latter was clear. I never go easy on others in a battle. Either you admit defeat, or be kicked off the ring by me. Make your own choice. Admit defeat. If I admit defeat, Zhong Laosha will beat me to death. With a look of distress, Yuan Dao walked forward. If you do not wish to admit defeat, be prepared to be kicked off the ring then. It's that simple. Ignoring the other party's show of weakness, Kong Jie sneered coldly. The battle hadn't begun, yet the fellow is already pleading for mercy. He is truly an eccentric person. However, from this by itself, it can be seen that Zhong Laosha doesn't have any abilities. Lu Laosha's victory is certain. How about this? Since I can't defeat you anyway, allow me to put on an act and hit you a few times before I admit defeat. This way, Zhong Laosha won't be able to blame me for this. If you cooperate with me, I will pay you 1,000. No, 500, 300 gold coins as compensation. Walking until he was right before the opponent, Yuan Dao said with a suppressed voice. 300 gold coin? For putting on an act? Kong Jie was taken aback. Do you really have that much gold coin? I do, look. Yuan Dao stretched his left hand into his pocket to retrieve something. At the same time, Kong Jie couldn't help but lower his glance. However, what waited for him wasn't gold coins. Instead, a fist came flying straight toward him. I fell for his trick. At this moment, he understood that this is the other party's ploy. Yuan Dao had planned it out well, feigning weakness and acting pitifully to convince the other party of his plight before going on to bribe the other party to divert his attention and last but not least, launching a sneak attack on him. The heck, do you need to be so shameless? So many students and esteemed figures are looking at them. Can you at least consider your own reputation? He felt a stifled sensation in his chest, but it was already too late for him to react. Narrowing his eyes, he felt an incredible strength surging at him. Before he could do anything, an excruciating pain spread through his face. Who? He was sent flying out of the dueling ring immediately. Chapter 215. I've lost on the seats specially reserved for teachers. Wang Chao was seated upright on one of the seats with a haughty expression on his face. His presence felt like a spear which would pierce into the heavens. Seems like Zhongxian is truly hopeless. Other people tend to send out their strongest member in the first match, so as to win the first battle and boost the morale of the team. Yet, he chose to send out this useless fellow at the very start. Is he admitting his defeat? Elder Hong Hao stroked his beard, excited by the sight before him. After Zhongxian exposed the imitation ingredients used in his Hongqian pavilion, his business had been poor. The shop wasn't far from closing down, and he had been wanting to skin this fellow alive. If not for the fear that the academy would find out about the matter, leaving him unable to conduct his business at all, he would have long made a move on Zhongxian. A Fighter 1 Dan Advanced Realm lad against a Fighter 3 Dan opponent. That's a completely one-sided battle. Wang Chao lifted his head up proudly and said, besides, Kong Jie has been practicing Iron Palm from young, granting him an outstanding offensive ability. On top of that, he belongs to the group of geniuses who utilize a style of frenzied offense. Once he begins, Yuan Dao probably won't even survive 10 breaths before flying out of the ring. A Jushi Realm Advanced stage has around 90 kilograms of strength. On the other hand, A Xianxia realm primary stage has around 300 kilograms of strength. That is a difference of threefold. I will be amazed if he can survive 3 breaths against such an opponent. Elder Hong Hao chuckled. Indeed, if Kong Jie gets serious from the start, that fellow will be destroyed in an instant. Wang Chao agreed. Seems like the first match is Lu Xun's. Of course. In fact, I think that Lu Laosha will win all 5 matches. This time, Zhong Xian will be utterly humiliated. Elder Hong Hao harumphed coldly. The other party destroyed his source of income. Ever since then, he had been wanting to crush him. Thus, he specially looked for Lu Xun to initiate this matter. If not for his interference, it was unlikely that the teacher evaluation would occur. He has many methods up his sleeves to cause Zhong Xian's downfall. By all means, he wants to make him regret all he had done in Hongqian Pavilion. It started. Not knowing that the other party was thinking about all these, Wang Chao nodded his head before exclaiming. Wang Chao is extremely confident in Kong Jie. The previous day, he helped Lu Xun to mentor these students, thus he is well aware of how scary those 5 are despite their young age. A bunch of fellows who are at most Dantian realm wishes to triumph over them? Isn't this dreaming? Overjoyed at the opportunity to get back at Zhong Xian, he turned to look at the dueling ring, only to see the 2 students facing each other. Senior Kong, please go easy on me. The next moment, Yuan Dao's plea echoed in the air. Upon hearing those words, the duo nearly spurted a mouthful of saliva and laughed heartily. Yuan Dao's voice may not be loud, but they are both experts. With their sharp ears, they could hear his words clearly. To be afraid of the opponent even before the match, what's the point of competing? To instill fear in the enemy's troops before the fight, Lu Laosha's students sure are incredible. Elder Hong Hao's eyes glowed. Did you see that? The highest realm of teaching a student is not for your student's fighting prowess to be impressive, but for his appearance to instill fear in the other students. This is called a true expert. This is the true might of a celebrity teacher. You, a mere low-level teacher, will never match up to him. From the looks of it, that fellow should admit his defeat. Ah. Hearing the conversation, Wang Chao nodded his head as well and commented. But halfway through his words, his voice ceased abruptly as though someone had grabbed onto his throat. For a moment, he seemed to be suffocating. What's wrong? Immersed in his delight, Elder Hong Hao hadn't paid much attention to the situation on the stage. At this moment, hearing the bizarre edge to the other party's tone, he immediately lifted his head to look at the dueling ring. With a single glance, he nearly spurted blood. Yuan Dao, whom they thought was doomed, stood in the dueling ring, patting the dust off his clothes, looking incredibly valiant on the stage. On the other hand, the powerful Kong Jie lied beneath the dueling ring. His eyes had turned white and it was clear that he had fainted. What is going on? Being outside the dueling ring means instant disqualification. What had happened? Why, in the blink of an eye, that new Xianxia realm genius who was about to display his full might would be suddenly lying on the ground with his eyes rolled back. The competition did end in less than 3 breaths, as they have thought. But, why did it end like this? Elder Hong Hao felt as though he was going mad. That fool! Stunned, Wang Chao roared. If he could, he would have slapped Kong Jie to death that instant. Given your superior offensive strength and cultivation, why did you chat with him? If you had just attacked him from the start, it wouldn't end up like this. Look at what has happened. Before you could even display your iron palm, you were already sent flying, pummeled to the point that even your parents won't be able to recognize you. You! Sneak attack! Despicable! Zhu Hong roared. Does anyone spar like that? Just an instant ago, you were talking about how you were going to admit defeat, but in the next, you sent a fist flying straight at the other party's face. Aren't you being too shameless? Where is your sportsmanship? However, watching this sight made Zhu Hong recall the incident when he delivered the war letter to Zhong Laosha's classroom, causing his mouth to twitch uncontrollably. It seems that, of the students under Zhong Laosha, there isn't a single one who knows what sportsmanship is. Sneak attack. The duel has already begun. Anyone can make a move, so why would you call it sneak attack? I wouldn't mind even if he were to attack me. Ignoring the other party's chatter, Yuan Dao flung his sleeves, and with the disposition of an expert, he stared down at Kong Jie in disdain. He should blame himself for being weak. To be unable to even sustain a single hit of mine, how brittle can he be? Weak. No matter how strong one is, it is impossible for anyone to stand against such a sneak attack. To speak of sneak attacks so righteously, how can you be so shameless? Hearing his brazen words, the spectators' mouths twitched. If other people were to win by sneak attack, they would be guilt-ridden. Yet, this fellow spoke of it so brazenly, as though it was the natural thing to do. The heck? Where's your dignity? Teacher, does this mean that it's my victory? With his hands behind his back, Yuan Dao turned to look at the refereeing teacher. It's your victory. The teacher turned to glance at Kong Jie, and judging from his state, it was unlikely that he could regain consciousness soon. Thus, he could only nod his head to Yuan Dao's words. After refereeing the freshman tournament for numerous years, this was the first time he met with such a matter. If one were to accuse Yuan Dao of sneak attack, the duel had already begun. In a sense, it is Kong Jie's fault for being distracted, so he can't blame another person for his loss. Yet, it is clearly not an ordinary battle. HMPH. Seeing his first student being struck out of the dueling ring the moment he got up, giving away the victory that should have been his, Lu Xun nearly choked on his anger. He had spent an entire 3 million to purchase pills. Then, he spent an entire night, expending his Xianxia to help them achieve a breakthrough to Xianxia realm. But what did he receive? At the very least, you should have at least lasted for a while against the other party. If you can't match up to him, I would have just accepted it. Yet, without even making the slightest move, you were sent flying out of the ring. Lu Xun grabbed at his chest and he felt his vision going grey. If not for his self-control, his body would have been convulsing now. Lu Laosha, we've lost the first round. What should we do next? Zhu Hong asked worriedly. Mo Xiao, you're up next. Ignoring the constricted sensation in his heart, Lu Xun said, yes. Mo Xiao nodded his head. Wielding his spear, he walked forward. Zhengyang, you're up. After seeing who the other party sent out, Zhongxian said. Zhengyang nodded his head. Wielding a spear in his hands as well, he walked into the ring. The two friends were to face one another in the ring once more. Glancing at the returning Yuan Dao, Zhongxian nodded his head in approval. It wasn't that he was approving Yuan Dao's sneak attack, just that Yuan Dao was a Jushi realm advanced stage whereas his opponent was a Xianxia realm cultivator. The difference between them exceeded more than a single realm. No matter how powerful Yuan Dao's defensive and offensive abilities are, if he can't land a blow on the other party, it would just be talk. Yuan Dao knew that his speed was his weakness, thus he put on an act before attacking his enemy. Honestly speaking, Kong Jie couldn't blame his carelessness on anyone else. It's Mo Xiao. It will surely be a victory this round. Suppressing the disappointment from the first match downward, Wang Chao's eyes lit up upon seeing Mo Xiao stepping onto the stage. He is. Upon seeing the other party's confident declaration, Elder Hong Hao turned to look at Wang Chao with a peculiar expression. Mo Xiao specializes in spear art and he was once my student. Wang Chao nodded his head. On top of being a Xianxia realm cultivator, his comprehension of spearmanship is impressive. More importantly, I have imparted the Wang clan's spearmanship 3rd form, 7th form, and 18th form to him. Onset of the cold gleam, remnants of the setting sun, and the returning forest canary. Disbelief flashed through Elder Hong Hao's eyes. Even though these 3 moves aren't the strongest moves in Wang clan spearmanship, they are nevertheless profound techniques and possess boundless might. You imparted such valuable spear techniques to him. The Wang clan spearmanship is known as the greatest secret spear art in Xianxia Kingdom, and there isn't a single spear user who doesn't wish to learn it. However, Wang Chong and Wang Chao never imparted these moves to any outsider. This is precisely the reason why the set of spear technique is becoming more and more valuable. Countless people are willing to do anything to lay their hands on it. Usually, learning a single move can mean that one will be invincible among peers of the same cultivation level. Yet, Mo Xiao had learned 3 moves at a single go, and furthermore, they are the more advanced moves. Indeed. That's the reason why Mo Xiao will definitely win. Not only did confidence reappear on Wang Chao's face, it even deepened as he spoke of Mo Xiao. It seemed as though the slight hiccup before doesn't affect the situation at all. However, it isn't a surprise either. Kong Jie isn't his student. While Wang Chao knew that he isn't weak, he isn't too clear of his personality whatsoever. But Mo Xiao is different. Having been under him, Wang Chao knows that Mo Xiao is resilient and headstrong. It is almost impossible for Xianxia to win through a sneak attack. More importantly, the latter had received this personal guidance and his spearmanship has reached great heights. It would be difficult for him to lose even if he wants to. Wang Chao had also seen Xianxia's abilities when he visited him on the first day of school alongside Mo Xiao. His spear was feeble and it didn't hold the sharp disposition that a spear user should have. Thus, he rejected him from his tutelage. In just half a month, it is impossible for a person like this to grow much stronger. As such, it is impossible for Xianxia to match up to Mo Xiao. A month with the stave, a year with the saber, and a lifetime with the spear. If one could improve their spearmanship so swiftly, the Wang clan wouldn't be proclaimed as the #1 spear clan in Xianxia Kingdom. Clearly, Lu Xun was aware of the fact as well, that's why he sent Mo Xiao up. He hoped for him to achieve a perfect victory and reverse the situation. Mo Xiao, we've met again. On the dueling platform, Xianxia placed his spear taut on the ground, with its tip facing the sky. Indeed, we've met again. Mo Xiao nodded his head, lifting his spear up as well. From young, the two of them had been good buddies. It was hard to imagine that they would meet on a dueling platform under such a situation. Let's start. Knowing that it would be difficult for his friend to make the first move, Xianxia said, "Hold it for a moment, allow me to warm up first." Mo Xiao shook his head. Retreating a few steps backward, the Xianxia in his body flurried and he executed the 3 moves which he had learned from Wang Chao smoothly. Woo woo woo. The spear emitted shock waves in all directions, causing the spectators' hair to fly about. What is that fellow doing? If he displays the 3 spear art now, isn't he telling the other party that he knows the Wang clan spearmanship? How will he fight if the other party is guarded against those 3 moves of his? Seeing how Mo Xiao didn't dive straight into the battle and instead display his spear art to warm up, Elder Hong Hao was perplexed. If one shows his trump cards before the battle, won't the other party be guarded against it? He, rest easy. Wang Chong chuckled. With a confident and proud look, he said, "It is impossible for the Wang clan spearmanship to be countered. These moves have long been out spreading all these years. Many people had attempted to imitate them, but no one succeeded in deciphering and countering them. Mo Xiao's actions are right, he is intentionally allowing the other party to see it so as to exert pressure on him. Afterward, he will bring the fame of the Wang clan spearmanship to greater heights." That's perhaps so. Elder Hong Hao nodded his head. The Wang clan spearmanship movements have been spread for many years, but without learning the underlying Xianxia circulation method, it is impossible to execute the move no matter how lifelike one's imitation is. More importantly, there isn't a counter for it. If it could be countered, Wang Chong wouldn't be that famous. On the dueling ring, Mo Xiao executed the 3 Wang clan spearmanship moves perfectly and thus concluded his warm-up. Alright, he is probably going to show the prowess of the Wang clan spearmanship now. Wang Chao chuckled once more. He was about to compliment Mo Xiao further and watch Xianxia being beaten to a pulp when, dang lang, he saw Mo Xiao drop the spear in his hands onto the ground suddenly as he sighed. "Even though I have reached Xianxia realm, I am unable to match that spear of yours. I admit defeat." What? Wang Chao's body shook. The fight hasn't even started. Why are you admitting defeat? Even if one has to admit defeat, it should be the opponent. The heck? What's going on? Lu Xun, who stood on the opposite, staggered as well. He was on the verge of tears. Chapter 216. Exerting too much force for Lu Xun to have risen up through the ranks, his talents and skills weren't the only determining factors. More importantly was his attitude. Regardless of the challenges that he faces, he deals with them in a calm manner, not allowing pride to get in his way. Even though Zhong Xian's reputation is terrible, Lu Xun didn't underestimate him at all and made preparations in advance. Before deciding on the students to send for the duel, he investigated Zhong Xian's students in order to pick out the best combination to deal with and counter them. Based on his investigation, Xianxia grew up with Mo Xiao and they practiced the spear together. However, the Mo Xiao's talents are obviously superior to Xianxia, and of the countless battle between the two, it had always been Mo Xiao's victory. This was precisely the reason why he poached Mo Xiao from his best friend, even having his friend impart him the Wang clan spearmanship. He thought that this way, this battle would surely be his for the taking. But, before the battle even started, Mo Xiao had already thrown aside his spear and admitted defeat. Lu Xun felt his entire body tremble and he was about to go crazy. Kong Jie fell for the other party's deception and got knocked out in a single punch. All right, I'll tolerate it. At most, just 600,000 of my gold coins went to waste. But you, what is going on with you? I've seen many darned people, but I've never seen such a darned person. You clearly know the reason why I stayed up so late, just to help raise your strength, is to achieve victory in the teacher evaluation. Furthermore, I had spent so much money on you, yet you admitted defeat even before the fight. What's going on? Two Xianxia realm students. The first one was sent flying by a single punch while the second one admitted defeat without a fight? What is going on? Wang Chao and Lu Xun weren't the only ones who were in bewilderment over the happenings. The spectating students and teachers were baffled as well. When they saw Lu Laoshe bring a group of Xianxia realm students over, all of them thought that it would be a one-sided match. Yet, the matches became truly one-sided but sided toward the other party. Actually, the crowd wasn't the only confused ones. Even the person in question, Zhong Xian, was unable to comprehend what was happening as well. When Mo Xiao and Xianxia crossed blows with one another in the classroom, Zhong Xian was at Master Lu Chen's home, so he wasn't aware of it. Thus, he couldn't understand why Mo Xiao would admit defeat before the fight even started. The reason why I admitted defeat is that, a few days ago, the both of us participated in a private duel. With just a single move, Xianxia was able to defeat me. In fact, it wouldn't have been difficult for him to claim my life then. Before Zhao Ya and the others could tell Zhong Xian about the situation, Mo Xiao's voice suddenly rang from the stage. His voice was calm, and the slightest dismay or regret couldn't be heard. Rather, it sounded carefree. I had been pondering over the last few days on how I should counter his move. Initially, I thought that with a breakthrough to Xianxia realm, I might be able to neutralize the technique. Thus, I tried it just now but realized that I still am not a match for him. The move which Xianxia had learned from Zhong Laoshe points straight toward the essence of the spear, and I'm afraid that even if I were to study it for my entire life, I still wouldn't be able to understand it, needless to say, withstand it. Since I know that I will be defeated with a single move, I might as well admit my defeat right away. At this, Mo Xiao clasped his fists and chuckled softly. Xianxia, you have a good teacher. You have to treasure him dearly. At which, Mo Xiao picked up his spear, turned around, and returned back to his seat. His voice echoed throughout the field and almost everyone heard his words clearly. Mo Xiao said that he wouldn't be able to decipher and counter the move which Zhong Laoshe imparted Xianxia even if he were to devote his entire life to it. That's to say, his move is superior to even that of the Wang clan spearmanship? How is that possible? Since this is a duel, it is unlikely for him to lie. Otherwise, won't Lu Laoshe beat him to death? Everyone's eyes widened in shock. The Wang clan spearmanship is simply too famous in Xianxia Kingdom. Many people are able to recognize it simply by looking at the moves. It is an indomitable existence in its field, representing the pinnacle of spear arts. Yet, Mo Xiao said that he isn't a match for the other party. Everyone was astounded. Looks like Zhong Laoshe isn't as weak as the rumors put him out to be. On the contrary, it seems that he is a person of great means. Indeed, out of a total of 5 matches, he has won 2 of them consecutively. Will Lu Laoshe really lose here? Who knows? But I hope that Lu Laoshe will be able to make a comeback. Voices in heated discussions filled the surroundings. Lu Xun, who was on stage, was breathing heavily and his face was turning green. The heck, what is wrong with these students whom I have taught? No student should ever do their teacher in like that. Furthermore, what do you mean with your words? Xianxia has a good teacher. Do you not have a good teacher as well? I spent 3 million to buy pills for you, students, exerting my Xianxia to help raise your cultivations. Yet, this is all I get. Even though Lu Xun was infuriated, he knew that it wasn't the time to lash out. The moment he loses his temper, the prestige which he had built up over the years would immediately crumble. He scanned the students before him. There were still 3 of his students who had yet to fight yet. Bai Chao, Du Lei, and Zhu Hong. Bai Chao specializes in fist techniques, making him a tough opponent for Liu Yang, who had damaged his meridians in his right arm. Du Lei's possesses impressive leg techniques. On top of that, Lu Xun had also imparted a formidable movement technique to him, granting him nimble movements, so it shouldn't be a problem for him to deal with Wang Ying, whose legs are injured. As for Zhu Hong, he will be facing Zhao Ya. After losing 2 rounds consecutively, Lu Xun has to win the next one. Otherwise, his reputation will be tarnished completely. Du Lei, you go up next. After contemplating for a moment, he decided to dispatch Du Lei. Based on his investigations, Wang Ying has a weak and gentle character. As long as Du Lei assaults her swiftly the moment the match starts, the latter will definitely be intimidated. Besides, the other party's legs had just recovered and they are still weak. Even if Du Lei were to be unable to win against her, he should be able to stand his own ground and rely on his movement technique to avert danger. At the very least, he will not suffer crushing defeats like the 2 before. Du Lei nodded his head and walked up to the dueling ring. Wang Ying. Seeing the other party had sent Du Lei, Zhongxian gestured for his own student to face her opponent. Wang Ying answered. With a slightly flushed face, she walked to the ring as well. By the spectator stand. As expected of Lu Laroche. Even though he has lost 2 rounds consecutively, he has seen through Zhongxian's weakness. Shun Bai Ayu's eyebrows were deeply knitted together in worry. Weakness? What weakness? Han Qiong was perplexed. Wang Ying is the sole daughter of the clan head Wang Hong of the 4 great clans. She has a weak and innocent nature, and as such, trusts others too easily. Of Zhongxian Laoche's 5 students, she is the weakest link. Shun Bai Ayu said. If that's really the case, then she is indeed Zhongxian's weakness. Han Qiong nodded her head in agreement. To cultivate is to go against the heavens. Those who possess weak characters tend to be at a disadvantage when fighting with others. Not just so, Wang Ying was also injured when she was younger, leaving a disability in her legs. Even though she has no problem walking around, this flaw will show through the moment she fights. For this matter, clan head Wang Hong had invited numerous famous physicians in the kingdom to treat her. Even Master Yuanyu had taken a look at her condition, but he was also at a loss on how to help her, having to return bitterly. Shun Bai Ayu knew quite a bit of Wang Ying's matter, and she recounted them to Han Qiong. That's to say, with Wang Ying's legs, it is impossible for her to match up to Du Lei. Ah! Han Qiong was astonished. She hadn't expected it to be such a situation. As for this Du Lei, he was once Chen Hong Laoche's student. Chen Hong Laoche? The teacher who specializes in movement technique. Him. Of all of his students, Du Lei possesses the greatest speed. Using such a person to deal with Wang Ying, it is clear that Lu Laoche had done his homework. Shun Bai Ayu shook his head. Seems like Wang Ying will lose. Please do guide me. On the stage, Wang Ying clasped her hands with a slightly reddened face. I don't dare to claim to be able to guide you. If you wish to fight, let's start now. Knowing that he shoulders a heavy responsibility, Du Lei's feet pushed against the ground, and lowering his body, he charged straight toward Wang Ying. His movements were quick, as though a whizzing arrow. Fast. Is he really a Fighter 3 Dan cultivator? Even a Fighter 4 Dan Pigu Realm cultivator wouldn't possess a speed of his level. This move is called Illusory Shadow's 9 Celestial Steps. It is a famous technique belonging to Lu Laoche. To think that Lu Laoche would generously impart this move to his student. Illusory Shadow's 9 Celestial Steps. The greatest secret manual on movement techniques in Hongqian Academy? Isn't it considered one of the top techniques in Xianxia Kingdom? That's right. If I could learn this move, I would definitely be able to reign supreme among those of the same cultivation level. This Wang Ying is probably in for a tough fight. Many students had recognized Du Lei's technique and they were astounded. The illusory shadow's 9 celestial steps is a formidable technique, even when compared to the other profound movement techniques. Lu Laoshi had once relied on this movement technique to defeat numerous experts. No one had imagined that he would impart it to Du Lei. Even though Du Lei had only learned the fundamentals, this in itself is sufficient for him to defeat cultivators of the same realm. Not to mention, Wang Ying's legs are injured and her cultivation is only at Dantian realm. Facing Du Lei's swift charge, Wang Ying gritted her silver teeth, twisted, and dodged his assault. He, you might be able to evade my first attack, but how much more can you evade? Realizing that she had managed to dodge his rapid charge successfully, Du Lei felt perplexed. However, he paid no further heed and sneered coldly. Driving the Xianxia in his body furiously, his speed grew faster and faster, and soon, blurred shadows started to appear around the ring. At the highest level, the illusory shadow's 9 celestial steps allows one to create 9 shadow clones. It is difficult for one to differentiate between the shadow clones and the true person, making it nigh impossible to evade its attacks. Even though Du Lei was still far from producing 9 shadow clones, now operating at his full strength, the afterimages he produced nevertheless made it difficult to discern his true position. Way too strong. Such amazing speed, I can't even see him. How can one fight against something like that? The mouths of the students twitched. Imagining themselves in Wang Ying's shoes, they could not help but shake their heads. Based on their level of strength, they weren't even able to see him. If so, how could they fight him? Seems like it's Du Lei's victory. Wang Chao laughed heartily. After having his face slapped for 2 consecutive times, he had already been traumatized within. But observing at Du Lei, he hadn't gotten deceived like Kong Jie, getting knocked out in an instant, and neither did he admit his defeat the moment he walks onto the stage. This made him feel reassured. It would be embarrassing if a Xianxia realm cultivator loses against a Dantian realm little girl whose legs are injured. Indeed, given his incredible speed, even I myself would find it hard to defeat him if I were to lower my cultivation realm to fight with him. Needless to say, that young lass. Elder Hong Hao stroked his beard and smiled. Look, that Wang Ying is going to make a move. Wang Chao glanced over and saw Wang Ying lift her right leg. Hesitation was obvious on her face, and she seemed to be uncertain on how she should attack. To deal with such a movement technique, one should rely on their hands instead. After all, one's hands are much more nimble than one's legs. Her legs are injured, and yet she still insists on using them. Such a fool, it would be a miracle if she can successfully land a kick on him. Sneering coldly, Wang Chao was in the midst of mocking Wang Ying when he saw the girl send a kicking toward a shadow before her. Pang! Before the ridiculing smile could fully form on his face, Wang Chao saw the afterimages come to an abrupt halt. Du Lei's face reddened and he was sent flying a dozen meters, landing heavily onto the ground. He coughed mouthful after mouthful of blood. Du Lei, I'm sorry. I tried my best to control my strength, but I still ended up exerting too much force by mistake. Wang Ying panicked and she hurriedly apologized. Her face was flushed red and it seemed that she was on the verge of tears. Chapter 217. It's a draw silence. The entire place turned silent. Everyone's mouth was widened in astonishment, all of them dumbfounded. Shunbai Ru, who just claimed that Wang Ying would lose, felt as though she had been slapped hard in her face. Her deep, black eyes were about to pop out from their sockets. A single kick, and she sent Du Lei flying? How? How did she know which were shadow clones, and which was the real one? Given Du Lei's speed, even expert cultivators of the same realm would find it hard to discern the real person. Yet, a casual kick from Wang Ying sent him flying a distance, as though she was simply kicking a mere human bound in a sack. Not only does she have to differentiate between the shadow clones and the true person, the speed of her kick must be that much faster than Du Lei. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to injure him if her attacks are unable to keep up with him. Han Qiong's face turned grim. It appears that not only has Wang Ying's injury recovered, she had also learned an incredible leg technique and movement technique. Indeed. Shun Bai Yu also recovered from her shock. This wasn't just a matter of seeing through the enemy's movement technique. Without suitable battle techniques in complement, how could she have sent him flying that easily? This. Wang Chao grabbed his hair. He had just insulted the other party as a fool, and the next moment, she sent Du Lei flying with a kick. Wang Chao felt as though he had been toyed with. Just beside him, Elder Hong Hao looked as though he had been given a tight slap as well, and he was on the verge of tears. Initially, he was here to see Zhong Xian get humiliated in public. Yet, somehow, he ended up watching how Zhong Xian's reputation grew increasingly brilliant and Lu Xun getting beaten so terribly instead. Cough, cough, cough. On the side of the dueling ring, Lu Xun choked on his saliva and nearly fell to the ground. Elder Hong Hao was on the verge of tears, but Lu Xun was already crying. What exactly is going on? That is the illusory shadow's 9 celestial steps, and there was no mistake in Du Lei's execution at all. Even though Du Lei is still a way off from reaching his level of mastery, to be able to display this kind of mastery at Xianxia realm, he can already be considered as a genius. Such amazing execution of a formidable movement technique, and yet Du Lei was sent flying with a single kick. More importantly, the girl on the stage had reddened eyes, and she kept apologizing, saying that she had accidentally used too much force. Too much force your head. So the reason why you were hesitating wasn't that you were at a loss, but you were considering how to avoid wounding the other party heavily? If holding back your strength sent the other party flying a dozen meters, wouldn't he be killed if you had used your full strength? The spectators all went hysterical. On the stage, Du Lei finally struggled to his feet. Looking at the apologetic girl before him, he couldn't take the mental blow and spurted another mouthful of blood. Are you all right? I really didn't do it intentionally. I just learned the battle technique, so I can't control my strength well and used too much force. Wang Ying's eyes turned red. Used too much strength your head. Roaring, Du Lei charged toward Wang Ying. He was truly enraged. It is one thing if you had sent me flying with a single kick, but apologizing? Are you trying to humiliate me? Furthermore, she kept emphasizing that she had used too much force. Do you think that I am too fragile, not worthy of facing you at your full strength? Ah! Wang Ying didn't expect that her sincere apology would result in the other party charging toward her. She was frightened pale. Even though her cultivation is higher than Xingyang and Liu Yang, she doesn't have much battle experience. Not to mention, she has an excessively kind nature. Seeing the other party charge toward her, she naturally became terrified. In a moment of panic, she retreated thoughtlessly. Who? Magically, within the blink of an eye, she was already a dozen meters away. What? Traveling a dozen meters in the blink of an eye. What? What is that movement technique? Too fast. How can this be possible? Upon witnessing the maneuver, the crowd turned silent abruptly for a brief moment before bursting into an uproar. Everyone had considered the illusory shadow's 9 celestial step to be already one of the most formidable movement technique. Yet, to think that Wang Ying's technique would be even more fearsome. To travel more than a dozen meters in less than half a breath, the entire event felt like a supernatural occurrence. Even Pishua realm experts are incapable of such speed. How did she do it? It is impossible for the Wang clan to possess such a movement technique. If they had it, they would have long become famous. Indeed. But if it isn't the Wang clan, from whom did she learn the technique? It must be Zhong Laosha. Didn't Xingyang's formidable spear art come from Zhong Laosha as well? To impart such an incredible movement technique so readily? If that's true, I want to withdraw from my tutelage and come under Zhong Laosha. Count me in as well. The eyes of the spectators burned with passion. Spear art is a specialized art, and not everyone is interested in it. However, movement techniques are different. This can serve as a mean of survival, as well as a trump card. If one can master it, even when facing an expert far superior to them, he will at least have the ability to flee unharmed. Who wouldn't want to learn such a powerful and handy battle technique? I will defeat you. Seeing Wang Ying travel a dozen meters in the blink of an eye, Du Lei felt faint. However, rage had already overtaken his rationality, and without any care, he charged forward once more. Seeing the other party's savage expression, as well as the crimson blood flowing down the ends of his lips, Wang Ying felt terrified. Her legs pushed against the ground and she fled once more. Just like that, one chased while one fled. Seems that her character is simply too weak. I will have polish up her personality in the future. Taking in the sight before him, Xianxia shook his head. If met with this situation, putting Xingyang, Liu Yang, and Yuan Dao aside, even Zhao Wei would have immediately sent Du Lei flying. Even if he didn't die, he would find to stand up once more. But Wang Ying, on the other hand, fled from him. It was due to her weak personality which led to such a situation. It seems that her greatest flaw isn't her cultivation or her battle technique, but her battle experience. Heaven's Path movement art saps one's stamina greatly. It might be okay to execute it once or twice, but any more than that would be difficult. Heaven's Path movement art allows one to move at amazing speeds and travel a dozen meters in the blink of an eye. Even so, it has its own flaws. That is, it exerts greatly on one's stamina. Wang Ying might be able to escape like this once or twice, but she will eventually be caught by the enemy if this goes on. And as Xianxia expected, Wang Ying started sweating profusely and panting heavily, unable to move anymore. At this moment, she had also been forced to the corner of the ring by the other party. Huala! Du Lei ran forward and grabbed her arm. Even if I can't win, I won't allow you to win. Roaring, he leaped forward, pulling her along with him. You! Not expecting that the other party would resort to such tricks, forcefully pulling her out of the ring, Wang Ying panicked and sent another kick toward him. Who? As though a rubber ball, Du Lei was immediately sent flying. In the midair, he was unable to keep his balance and flipped several turns before landing at a distance 30 meters away. Putong! However, right after kicking the other party, Wang Ying, having drained the final bit of stamina she had left, fell from the dueling ring as well. Both parties had fallen from the dueling ring and landed on the ground at nearly the same moment. As such, the conclusion was a draw. Du Lei knew that he would be unable to defeat Wang Ying in a straightforward battle. As such, he charged forward ferociously, pulling her down with him. However, Wang Ying's counterattack was also fearsome. Having sent the other party flying 30 meters away, even if Du Lei doesn't die, he would be confined to his bed for at least 2 months. This is cheating. Too shameless. He obviously isn't a match for her, yet he tried to pull the other party down to the ground. He deserves that kick. How can one be so shameless? He's even worse than Yuan Dao. A commotion broke out beneath the stage. Everyone could tell that Du Lei's action was no different from shameless cheating. While the teachers' reputations are at stake, the teacher evaluation is actually just a friendly spar between students. It was clear that his movement technique and leg technique were inferior to the other party, yet he forcefully used his superior strength, as a male, to drag the other party down with him. In their eyes, it was an exceedingly shameless action. Thus, everyone thought that he deserved to be sent flying. There wasn't a single person who felt sympathy for him. Hearing those curses, Yuan Dao became speechless. He hadn't said anything, so why did he suddenly get targeted as well? Who are you saying is shameless? You're the one who is shameless. Your entire family is shameless. Both landed on the ground at the same time. Draw. Hearing the arguments, the refereeing teacher began to feel a headache. Even so, he nodded his head and announced his verdict. Even though Du Lei's actions lacked sportsmanship, it was true that the both parties had landed at the same time, so the match could only be considered as a draw. Teacher. Upon hearing the conclusion, Wang Ying turned to look at Xianxia with an apologetic look. Zhong Laosha had given her so much, treating her legs and imparting her a leg technique and movement technique. Yet, she wasn't able to defeat her opponent and bring honor to Zhong Laosha. She felt as though she had disappointed him. Don't worry, just take note of this in the future. Don't let it bother you. Xianxia nodded his head. It is negligence on my part as well. What you're lacking isn't your cultivation or your battle techniques, it is your character. Thank you, teacher. Seeing that Zhong Laosha didn't blame her, and on the contrary, he even consoled her, Wang Ying felt even more embarrassed. However, the result couldn't be changed, so she could only walk gloomily over to the other students. If Du Lei saw her expression, he would have gone insane immediately. Your kick caused me to be groaning in pain here, unable to move at all, yet you are feeling depressed. The one who should be depressed is me. Zhong Laosha won 2 consecutive rounds and achieved a draw for 1. It is already impossible for him to lose the teacher evaluation anymore. Indeed. Even if Lu Laosha wins the next 2 rounds, it would only result in a draw. Let's see how things unfold. I don't think that Lu Laosha's students stand a good chance against the other remaining students of Zhong Laosha. I think so too. Initially, I thought that Zhong Laosha would suffer a crushing defeat. Yet, to think that Lu Laosha would be the one under pressure. What is going on? Even though they felt that Du Lei's actions were too shameless, they quickly accepted and got over that fact. This was how the rules were. Even though it seemed unfair, there was nothing they could do about it. But here comes the problem of the 5 duels. Zhong Laosha had achieved 2 wins and 1 draw, so all of the pressure is now on Lu Laosha. If Lu Laosha were to lose the next match, there would be no need for the 5th one. On the other hand, if Lu Laosha were to win the remaining 2, it would be a draw for the teacher evaluation. This would be the best possible conclusion, given how both sides would retain their dignity. Upon thinking so, the crowd focused their gazes on Lu Xun immediately, interested to see who he would send out next. I can't lose anymore. I started this teacher evaluation to display my skills, and if I were to lose another round, I will be too embarrassed to meet anyone in the future. Lu Xun gritted his teeth. Since the crowd was able to comprehend the current situation, it was natural that Lu Xun would understand it as well. If he were to lose, not only would he lose the reputation that he had painstakingly built up, he might even become a laughingstock. Zhu Hong had once lost to Zhao Yue. Even though his cultivation has improved, he might still hold a trauma over that event. If I were to send him out, I can't guarantee his victory. I should have Bai Chao go up. He specializes in fist techniques and it shouldn't be a problem for him to deal with Liu Yang. Making up his mind, Lu Xun beckoned. Bai Chao stood out from the crowd and took big steps to the dueling ring. It's my turn. Upon seeing Bai Chao walk up to the stage, Liu Yang chuckled softly. Before Zhong Xian could say anything, he had already stepped into the ring to face his opponent. Chapter 218. Exchanging fists at the VIP seats, Wang Chao and Elder Hong Hao gazed at each other. Bai Chao specializes in fist technique. Liu Yang shouldn't be an opponent for him. Wang Chao hesitated. Even though he said such words, he clearly wasn't confident. In the previous few matches, he had declared haughtily that Lu Xun's students would win, but in the end, all of them lost tragically. This Bai Chao, based on Wang Chao's understanding, should be able to win easily, but Zhong Xian's students were simply unfathomable. All of his previous predictions had fallen through, and he had lost all his confidence. I think so too. He should be able to win. Elder Hong Hao was dispirited as well. He wanted to witness this Zhong Laosha being humiliated in public and lose all of his dignity. Yet, from the looks of it, it is impossible to humiliate him anymore. At this moment, all he can do is to try his best to preserve his own dignity. Bai Chao, don't hesitate at all. Once the match starts, use your strongest fist technique. Don't give the other party any gaps to exploit. Gritting his teeth, Wang Chao shouted to Bai Chao. There is no room to retreat now. If this match were to end in a loss, there wouldn't be a final match. Thus, all they can do now is to entrust all of their hopes and expectations to Bai Chao and hope that he will not let them down. Bai Chao specializes in fist techniques, and it would be best for him to execute his strongest technique from the start and defeat his opponent swiftly. Otherwise, while he enters with huge expectations, he will leave with utmost disappointment and his good buddy will lose all chance to impress the 3 master teachers and become one of their disciples. UN Bai Chao nodded his head and stared at Liu Yang with narrowed eyes. He had seen the happenings of the previous duels clearly. He understood that even though Zhong Laosha's students didn't possess high cultivation, none of them was weak. He mustn't show the slightest hesitation. Otherwise, history would just repeat itself. Clan head Wang Hong, do you think that Bai Chao can win? On the spectator stand, clan head Bai Ming glanced at Wang Hong. As the heads of powerful clans and as Tongxian realm experts, their words were authoritative. I don't think so. Zhong Laosha has already achieved 2 wins and 1 draw, and this should affect the Bai Chao's morale greatly. As long as Liu Yang doesn't fare badly, it is unlikely for him to win. Wang Hong shook his head. The teacher evaluation was already more than halfway through, and all along, Liu Laosha's students had been suffering from crushing defeats. It wouldn't be easy for him to rebound and achieve victory. Besides, his very own daughter was under Zhong Laosha's tutelage, and thus, he understood how fearsome the theories Zhong Xian taught were. Otherwise, how could that air-headed daughter of his have easily sent the fighter 3 Dandulay flying with a kick? If even her could become so formidable, it would be impossible for Liu Yang to be weak. My view differs from yours, Bai Ming said with a sharp glint in his eyes. Oh. Wang Hong looked over curiously. This Bai Chao is a member of my Bai clan. However, he is from a distant branch family, so I had never really heard of him. I've had a few of my clan members look into him just a moment ago, and it turns out that he practices the steel armor art. Even though he was the one speaking, a tinge of disbelief could still be heard in clan head Bai Ming's voice. Steel armor art? Could it be? For a moment, clan head Wang Hong was puzzled. Then, his eyes suddenly narrowed. Could it be that cultivation technique which the steel armor elder practices? Isn't it a lost art? Why does your clan member know of it? Very few people knew of the steel armor art, but the steel armor elder was a famous figure, such that even many of the younger generation had heard of him. He was a famous bandit from 70 years ago. From pillaging to slaughter, there was no evil which he hadn't commit. Furthermore, he was one of the top-ranking experts in Xianxia Kingdom throughout all of its history, and even today, his name still strikes fear in hearts. Due to his arrogant ways, both the royal palace and the commoners had tried repeatedly to bring him down. However, all of these attempts ended in failure. It could be said that those who had gone after him never returned back. Finally, there was an occasion when his whereabouts were discovered and a dozen experts trapped him in a valley. Knowing of his incredible prowess, none of them approached him. Rather, they made use of bows to attack him from afar. Yet, they realized with a shock that there was a layer reminiscent of animal scales on his skin surface, causing all of the arrows they shot to simply bounce off him. That is to say, the arrows were unable to deal any damage to him. Left with no choice, they could only charge forth to deal with him in close quarters. However, the layer of scales on his body seemed to be impenetrable. Even swords and sabers were unable to get through it. That battle created a river of blood, and the skies seemed to have darkened in grief. Eventually, even though justice triumphed, more than 30 Tongxian realm experts fell that day. This caused Xianxia Kingdom's national might to fall markedly, and it took them many decades to recover from that blow. According to rumors, the technique which allowed the steel armor elder to generate scales all over his body was known as the steel armor art. But 70 years ago, when the steel armor elder died, the art should have been lost along with him. Thus, Wang Hong was perplexed over how Bai Chao managed to learn the art. It is true that the steel armor art had been lost, and the technique which Bai Chao cultivated isn't the authentic steel armor art. Bai Chao said calmly. Then, clan head Wang Hong blinked. After cultivating the steel armor art, scales will appear all over one's body, providing one with invincible defense. On the other hand, Bai Chao's technique limits the scales to only his fist. That is to say, when he activates this cultivation technique, his fist will become as tough as steel, making it no different from a weapon. Clan head Bai Ming spoke of all he knew and explained the reason why he thought Bai Chao would win. Liu Yang's right arm is injured, and this fellow's offensive ability, in terms of his fist, is invincible. Furthermore, his strength is significantly higher than that of Liu Yang. How can Liu Yang win under such circumstances? If the technique Bai Chao cultivates is really the steel armor art, then it will be truly difficult for Liu Yang to win. Clan head Wang Hong's complexion darkened. Those who know of this dark piece of history and how powerful the steel armor elder was would know how fearsome the steel armor art is. This art surpasses the very limits of a human, granting one the strength and defensive ability of a savage beast. Putting aside the fact that Liu Yang is injured, even if he isn't, how is it possible for him to withstand attacks of that level? Actually, as long as Liu Yang isn't foolish so as to cross fists with him and instead skirt around his opponent, he might not lose that badly. After contemplating for a moment, clan head Wang Hong said, "Even though the other party's fists are incredible, he has his own flaws as well. His defensive and offensive ability in other regions are weak. If so, as long as Liu Yang doesn't face off with him directly and skirts around the opponent, sending him blows on the opponent's body from time to time, he might not necessarily lose. Let's just hope that's the case. I'm just worried that Liu Yang may not know of this and fall for Bai Chao's ploy." Clan head Bai Ming smiled bitterly. Even though Bai Chao is a member of his clan, he isn't really close to him. On the contrary, he hoped for apothecary Zhong Xian's victory. This. Clan head Wang Hong was about to say something when he suddenly heard the conversation between the two young men in the dueling ring. "Liu Yang, I know that the meridians of your right arm are damaged. However, just like Wang Ying, Zhong Laosha should have treated it already, right?" Bai Chao asked. "Indeed. Zhong Laosha managed to identify my problem and personally went to the apothecary guild to obtain a meridian rejuvenation pill for me. At this moment, my right arm has already fully recovered." Liu Yang nodded his head. His face clearly showed his reverence and pride for his teacher. Only a noble person like Zhong Laosha will give so much for his students, even if he will receive little in return. "Since your arm has already recovered, I have a proposal for you. Let's stop it with all the tricks and cross blows directly. Whoever fails to withstand the blow loses." Bai Chao sneered coldly. "Don't tell me that you dare not to, unless your Zhong Laosha failed to treat your arm at all, and all you've just said was still boasting. Let's cross blows then. Do you think that I'll be afraid of you?" Hearing the other party doubt Zhong Laosha, Liu Yang flew into a rage. That fool! Watching his worries slowly becoming reality, that Liu Yang fell for Bai Chao's ploy, Wang Hong's complexion immediately turned awful. The other party practices the steel armor art, agreeing to exchange direct blows. Isn't that suicidal? Tell Zhong Laosha that Bai Chao cultivates the steel armor art and that his fist is as hard as steel, and to not allow Liu Yang to cross blows with him no matter what. He hurriedly instructed a guard behind him. The guard nodded his head and hurried over to Zhong Xian, in order to inform him of the matter. "Zhong Laosha, I've heard of steel armor art. It is said to be the secret art which the steel armor elder practices. By soaking one's hands in the blood of a steel armor beast, as time goes by, one's hands become as hard as steel. However, this causes the hands to lose their flexibility and sense of touch." Jiao Wei seemed to know a lot about the steel armor art and explained to Zhong Xian. "As hard as steel? What's the difference between doing that and wearing a steel gauntlet?" Zhong Xian was speechless. Cultivation in itself is an evolution of life. The stronger one becomes, the stronger the opponents he would have to face, and the more nimble he has to be. Yet, this fellow forged his hands into steel, losing his sense of touch as a result. No matter how powerful the cultivation technique is, this is a fatal weakness. How perverted does one have to be in order to create such a warped cultivation technique? "Zhong Laosha, our clan head instructed me to tell you to stop Liu Yang from crossing blows with Bai Chao at all costs." Seeing how the two were still in the mood to discuss the steel armor art, the guard panicked and hurriedly interjected. "Stop him from crossing blows with Bai Chao? Why?" Zhong Xian asked, perplexed. "I think it is good that Liu Yang agreed to it. No matter what, Bai Chao is a fighter 3-dan cultivator, and with the augmentation from his Xianxia, regardless of whether it is his reaction speed or his agility, they are significantly superior to Liu Yang's. Even if he can't defeat Liu Yang, he can easily escape from his attacks. If it really ends up like this, the battle can potentially drag on for more than a day. Crossing blows like that can help to make up for Liu Yang's weaknesses, so why should I stop him?" This was just like the battle between Yuan Dao and Kong Jie. It was an unchangeable fact that Liu Yang and the others possessed lower cultivation than their opponents. If their opponents were to choose to take evasive measures, they would truly be in a rut. Since Bai Chao had decided to go head-on with Liu Yang, there was no reason for Zhongxian to disagree. The guard was about to go crazy. This isn't the problem, all right? Haven't I phrased it out clearly for you? The cultivation technique the other party cultivates is the steel armor art, that is a fist that rivals steel. It is impossible for Liu Yang to win in a direct confrontation of fists. He was about to persuade Zhongxian when he glanced at the dueling platform and saw two figures moving about. The battle had already begun. It was already too late for Zhongxian to interfere. Since you're agreeable to it, let's begin. Seeing that Liu Yang had fallen for his ploy, Bai Chao roared excitedly, stepped forward, and sent a fist toward him. Boom! The might of the fist compressed the air, causing a sonic boom. Just like the legend said, tiny scales could be seen on the surface of his fist, and the fist appeared to be the knuckle of a savage beast rather than a human's, emanating a bizarrely intimidating aura. It's good that you decided to face me head-on. Liu Yang raised his eyebrows and faced Bai Chao's strike with his own fist. He's doomed. He didn't expect that the guard he dispatched would fail to stop the spar between the two. Clan head Wang Hong's face paled and his body swayed from side to side. How can a human's fist match up to a savage beast's? Furthermore, Liu Yang's cultivation is far beneath that of Bai Chao's. Wang Hong sighed and shut his eyes, not wanting to see Liu Yang fracture his arm and fall tragically in defeat. But at that moment, he heard clan head Bai Ming's hastened breathing and his abrupt exclamation. This. Chapter 219. Do you dare to accept our challenge? Heh. Sensing that something was amiss, clan head Wang Hong quickly opened his eyes to take a look. With just a single glance, his body swayed and he nearly passed out. Isn't this way too exaggerated? On the dueling platform, Liu Yang's fist was raised and his face was impassive. On the other hand, Bai Chao, who possessed the fist of steel, was kneeling on the ground. Perspiration was streaming down his forehead. At this moment, his arm had been fractured, and his fingers were bent like twist breadsticks, as though they had encountered an indomitable force. Don't you cultivate the steel armor art? Why are you so weak? Retracting his fist, Liu Yang stared at Bai Chao in surprise. Because Zhao Yue was going to compete in the teacher evaluation, Yao Han took the liberty to look into their rivals beforehand and told him about this fellow's steel armor art and his ability to morph his fists into the claws of a savage beast. You knew. Bai Chao looked as though he had seen a ghost. He thought that the enemy had accepted his challenge due to his provocation, but it turned out that the other party already knew. It was him who was the foolish one who charged up to him knowing nothing at all. Of course I know. Liu Yang nodded his head. Then, with a bizarre expression, he asked, Isn't your steel armor art an impressive skill that can punch through even steel? Why is it so weak? Weak? Bai Chao was on the verge of tears. I'm not the one who's weak, it's you who is strong, all right? It's true that I can punch through metal, but that's only half a kun. Given the strength behind your fist, you can probably punch through 2 to 3 kun easily. I get it. You didn't use your full strength, right? Come, let's trade blows once more. After contemplating for a moment, Liu Yang's eyes lit up. Even though he knew that the Heaven's Path fist art was no ordinary skill, he had no idea over how fearsome the technique truly was as he had been practicing it alone. Even when sparring with Zheng Yang and the rest, he dared not use his full strength for fear of injuring them. It isn't every day that he gets to meet with a fists expert, so how can he allow the opportunity to escape easily? Besides, he was still infuriated over how the other party tried to do him in. You wish to cripple me? Fine, I'll beat all of those thoughts out of you. No, I'll pass. Before Bai Chao could speak, he saw the young man before him clench his left fist and smash it into him. Catcher! His left hand fractured as well. Woo! Bai Chao began to have suicidal thoughts. Brother, only my right hand wields the strength of the steel armor art. My left hand is just an ordinary hand. Besides, I said that I'll pass. Why did you smash your fist into me? The excruciating pain caused his rage to flurry. Infuriated, he opened his mouth to curse the other party, but before he could say anything, the voice of the young man before him sounded once more. "Ah, can it be possible that you have cultivated your steel armor art to your head as well? Come, let me give it a try." Pu. Hearing those words, Bai Chao spurted out a mouthful of blood. "A fracture can be healed, but if a hole were to be smashed into my brain, I will surely die for sure. I don't practice it with my head. Referee, I admit defeat, I admit defeat." Afraid that the fellow before him will really test out his theory on his head, Bai Chao immediately retreated, howling frenziedly in fear. If only his parents had given him an additional mouth, he would have surely shouted even louder. "Admit defeat." The refereeing teacher immediately stepped forward. Bai Chao hurriedly nodded his head. "You've already lost 2 rounds. If you lose another, it will be equivalent to losing the entire teacher evaluation." The refereeing teacher said. "I understand. I admit defeat." Bai Chao quickly shouted. A loss was much better than his death. "All right." Hearing his words, the refereeing teacher knew the conclusion to the teacher evaluation. He could not help but shake his head before announcing, "Bai Chao admits defeat. The teacher evaluation comes to an end and Xianxia is the victor." Xianxia won. Incredible. Those students of his are truly incredible. Indeed. Other than Yuan Dao, every single one of them is amazingly powerful. Xingyang's spear art, Wang Ying's movement technique and leg technique, and Xingyang's fists, all of them are fearsome. Just like us, they are all freshmen. For them to be so powerful, it must be Xianxia's guidance. Yuan, after the tournament comes to an end, I will definitely acknowledge him as my teacher. Wait for me, I'll go with you as well. Hearing the result announced by the refereeing teacher, the crowd broke out into a commotion. With Yaro Han's hard work previously, Zhongxian's reputation had gradually improved. Now witnessing the sight before them, every single of the students' faces were flushed with agitation. What is the purpose of coming to the academy? It is to find a good teacher. This Xianxia had utterly crushed Luzunlaosha right before their eyes. Just exactly how incredible are his teaching abilities? Many students had come to the same decision. And that is to come under this Xianxia's tutelage the moment the freshman tournament comes to an end. He won, just like that. While the students felt excitement, on the spectators' stand, Shunbai Ayu blinked her eyes in disbelief. Ever since her entry into the academy, she had viewed Lu Xun as her goal, always contemplating how she can surpass him. Yet, before she could succeed, a fellow who possesses poor reputation managed crushed him before her. This is Lu Xun. Furthermore, all of his students have reached Xianxia realm. Shunbai Ayu, you have truly good eyes. Right now, I am feeling a little interested in this Xianxia as well. A gleam flashed across Han Qiong's enchanting eyes. Mind your status, what do you mean by interested? Hearing the words of her bosom friend, Shunbai Ayu frowned. It's exactly as it means, I'm interested in him. Say, if I were to consult this Xianxia in the middle of the night, do you think he will open the doors to let me in? Han Qiong chuckled captivatingly. I think he will beat you death. Scolding her bosom friend shameless silently in her mind, Shunbai Ayu harumphed. Honestly speaking, she was at a loss for words for this bosom friend of hers. As a teacher, she could actually say such words. Consult? Why can't you consult in the morning? Why does it have to be at night? I think that you are the one who will beat me to death if I do that. Han Qiong chuckled. Just like that, the two women continued bickering at the direct center of the spectator stand. Did you see that? Liu Ling glanced at the other two. Yuan. Lu Xun's students seem to treat this competition as a mere task. It doesn't matter to them whether they win or lose, it is all fine as long as they do not get injured. Zhuangxian's eyes glowed with wisdom as he spoke of his conclusion. From this, we can conclude that the relationship between him and his students are only at the level of a deal. Even though he had helped the latter raise their abilities, in their view, it was only a mere equivalent trade. Indeed, his motives for raising the abilities of his students are impure, so naturally, he is unable to earn the affection of his students. Zheng Fei shook his head. Master teachers don't just look for talent and teaching standards in potential apprentices, they also pay close attention to the affection his students have for him. Even though they had yet to see Zhu Hong's performance, judging from Kong Jie, Mo Xiao, Du Lei, and by Chao's attitude, they were able to notice something amiss. As Lu Xun was too focused on results and winning the teacher evaluation, he had neglected the emotions of his students. It was true that such focus would raise their cultivation greatly within the shortest period of time, and Lu Xun did succeed in lifting his students to become Xianxia realm cultivators, but he failed to win their trust and respect. After all, who respects a person who treats them as a tool? Zhong Xian's students are different. They truly love him and they are willing to give their all for him. Liu Ling nodded his head in agreement to his two friends' judgments. Just through this competition alone, they might not have been able to see this much. However, the past few days of Peking had given them a deep insight into the relationship between Zhong Xian and his students. Zhao Yue, Wang Ying, and the others don't cultivate just for the sake of doing so or to raise their abilities, but for a common goal in their hearts. And that is to bring honor to Zhong Laosha, to give him the prestige he deserves. They are doing this for the sake for their teacher, not for their own benefits. Even though on both sides, the students were cultivating and raising their abilities, one faction was thinking of accomplishing a task while the other was thinking of bringing honor to their teacher in order to make him proud of them. There was an insurmountable gap in their motivations. It is no wonder that he would catch Xianxia's attention. This Zhong Laosha is truly made to be a master teacher. It probably won't take long before he is of equal standing with us. Liu Ling commented in awe. Indeed. The other two also nodded their heads. Huala. The three were about to continue with their heartfelt sentiments when Lu Xun, who was located by the side of the dueling ring, stood up. After suffering a defeat at the teacher evaluation, he had two choices. He could apologize to Zhong Xian in public and compensate him according to the bet that they made beforehand. Otherwise, he could leave the academy once and for all. What do you think Lu Laosha will choose? I don't know, but I think it is more likely for him to apologize. It is normal to lose. No one can guarantee that they can continue winning for their whole life. Indeed, losing isn't a big deal. If he were to really leave the academy, no matter how incredible of a star teacher he is now, he will fall into misfortune after losing his roots. The crowd spoke with hushed voices. It had been long since the last teacher evaluation. As the one who initiated it, Lu Xun suffered a crushing defeat. He must be feeling awful at the moment. Everyone wanted to see how he would choose. It wasn't anything much to apologize to Zhong Xian. However, if he were to choose to leave the academy, it would be a shame. Only with students can one be called a teacher. After leaving the academy and losing his students, how can he call himself a teacher? Furthermore, if he were to choose the latter, with a record of leaving Hongqian Academy and losing the teacher evaluation, it was unlikely that any other academy would accept him. Zhong Xian Laosha. Stepping onto the center of the dueling ring, Lu Xun flung his sleeves and stood tall. Zhong Xian glanced over. I've lost the teacher evaluation. I admit you are capable of guiding your students, but in this world, strength nevertheless reigns supreme. No matter how good you are in teaching, without sufficient ability, you will be unable to stand your ground. I want to challenge you. Lu Xun clenched his fists tightly in determination. His glowing acupoints displayed his formidable cultivation as a Pishua realm expert. At the same time, his powerful voice gushed into the heavens. Do you dare to accept my challenge? After expending so much effort and making such thorough preparations, he nevertheless lost so tragically. His pride no longer allowed him to remain in Hongqian Academy. But before leaving, he wanted to teach Zhong Xian a lesson. He wanted him to understand that everything else is fake, only strength reigns supreme. You wish to challenge me? He didn't expect that the other party would make such a decision. Zhong Xian was about to continue speaking when Jiaowei stepped forward and stood proudly in front of Zhong Xian, reminiscent of a goddess descending onto the mortal world. I will fight whoever who dares to insult my teacher. Who's with me? Me. 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 4 consecutive sounds, and Zheng Yang, Wang Ying, Liu Yang, and Yuan Dao stepped forward with firm resolutions. You have insulted our teacher. The 5 of us will challenge you to uphold his honor. Lu Xun, do you dare to accept our challenge? The voices of the 5 roared as though thunder, resounding across the entire academy, putting their lives on the line to uphold the honor of their teacher. This is the highest level of a teacher-student relationship, honor defend realm. Liu Ling's body trembled and he abruptly stood up. Chapter 220, Reappearance of the Golden Book. Honest and righteous mind, actions aligned with morals. A teacher has to be of such character before they can truly earn the respect and admiration of their students, such that they are willing to go through all sorts of trials to vie for the honor of their teacher and defend his name, even if it might spell their death. Xianxia's lips trembled in disbelief. It said that only 4-star master teachers can reach this level, but he. Despite saying he twice, he found himself unable to say a word after that. The situation before him was simply too astonishing. It was sufficient to make all ornate words lose their radiance. He had merely taught these students for half a month, and furthermore, he was absent for more than 10 days. That is to say, he had been with his students for at most only 4 to 5 days. Yet, his students are willing to defend his honor? How? How did he manage to do this? Zheng Fei swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The students have to have a deep level of trust in their teacher before they will be willing to defend his honor. Looks like we have really underestimated this Zhongxian Laosha. Liu Ling sighed. Indeed, when I heard that Xianxia had accepted him as his student, I was really disappointed. But from the looks of it now, it seems that even if he were to acknowledge us as his teacher, we won't have anything to impart to him. Zhuangxian smiled bitterly. One has to be sufficiently knowledgeable in order to become another's teacher and to impart him knowledge. If one is inferior to his student, how can he guide the student? Previously, they thought that it was a pity that such a good bud had been claimed by Xianxia, so they felt somewhat disappointed. However, upon seeing how the students whom Zhongxian had taught for just half a month was willing to put themselves on the stake to defend Zhongxian's honor, they felt embarrassed. To be able to induce such trust in their students such that they were willing to challenge one who was much stronger than them, even the master teachers didn't think that they were capable of such feat. They felt that it was fortunate that they had failed to take him as their apprentice, otherwise given how the apprentice was even more incredible than the teacher, they would definitely die of shame. While the 3 master teachers felt embarrassed, a commotion had broken out at the spectator stand. Everyone was staring dumbfounded. It is clear disrespect for a student to challenge a teacher, even asking him whether he dares to accept the challenge. This was extremely humiliating for Lu Xun. After losing his dignity in the teacher evaluation, he wanted to fix Zhong Laosha to regain some of his honor. Yet, the other party students said that he wasn't fit to challenge their teacher, and he only could duel with them. However, while it felt exhilarating to do so, their actions were reckless. No matter what, they were only freshmen who had just joined the academy. Even if they had achieved significant breakthroughs in the past few days, they had only practiced for half a month. To challenge the academy's most famous celebrity teacher, not to mention that he is a dignified Pishua realm expert, how can they possibly win? Look at Zhao Wei. The crowd was thinking whether those students were putting themselves at too much risk by challenging Lu Xun when someone suddenly shouted from the crowd. Upon hearing the shout, everyone's gazes immediately fell on the inexplicably enchanting lady. At this moment, the aura on her body felt like a sharp sword stabbing through the heavens, and the aura was growing stronger and sharper by the moment. Boom! While the aura shrouding her grew stronger, her physical body seemed to be going through a metamorphosis as well. She became visibly more beautiful and pure, as though a goddess. She is breaking through. Dantian Realm Pinnacle, Xianxia Realm Pinnacle, Pigu Realm Pinnacle? How is this possible? To break through so many realms in just a few breaths. How can one's cultivation soar that swiftly? Could it be that she has intentionally suppressed her cultivation in the past, or she intentionally kept herself from breaking through until now, pushing through in a single go so as to impress everyone? It's possible. Look, she has already reached Dingli Realm. Looking at the Zhao Wei on the stage, everyone felt like they were going mad. She was breaking through frenziedly. This. Upon seeing the sight, Zhu Hong fell to the ground. His lips turned pale in fright. He was hoping to cleanse himself of his humiliation the previous time, especially since he had reached Xianxia realm. Yet, in the end, he didn't have any chance to get in the ring, and as such, he felt extremely indignant and unsatisfied. Thus, he was considering whether he should find another opportunity to find Zhao Yue and the others on a private occasion to beat them up. However, upon seeing this sight, he suddenly realized how childish and laughable his thoughts were. It was fortunate that he didn't compete with her, otherwise, given Zhao Yue's strength, wouldn't she smash him into a heap of flesh with a single blow? Too fearsome. How did Zhong Laosha raise such a student? How did his students improve so swiftly? Eventually, Zhao Yue's growth stopped at Dingli Realm Pinnacle. At the same time, Zhao Yue seemed to have moved a single step closer to becoming a true goddess. Every single movement of hers exuded extreme grace and lithe, making her the center of attention. This is the result of the awakening of the pure yin body. City Lord Zhao Feng and Butler Yao Han subconsciously widened their eyes and clenched their fists. Even though they already knew that Zhao Yue had such a constitution, and Zhong Laosha had specially prepared an unravel yin pill for her to awaken her constitution, they didn't expect that it would be so fearsome and powerful. To raise one's cultivation from Dantian Realm to Dingli Realm Pinnacle in a few moments. Xiao Yue has truly met a good teacher. Recovering from the shock, City Lord Zhao Feng said. He had felt that he had failed in the responsibility of a father, being unable to see through her daughter's pure yin body and the agony she was going through. If not for meeting Zhong Laosha, not only would she never experience such a rapid rise in cultivation, she would be tortured by this unique constitution of hers, causing her cultivation to stagnate. I've long heard that awakening a unique constitution would induce a qualitative change in one, causing one's cultivation to soar. I used to think that it was just nonsense, but from the looks of it, it seems like it is true. City Lord Zhao, you have a good daughter. In the future, our Xianxia kingdom will be relying on her to rise through the ranks. Sitting by the side, Emperor Shenzui couldn't help but say. Emperor Shenzui knew of Zhao Feng's arrival at the capital and his daughter's pure yin body. Initially, he thought that she would just be slightly more talented than the average, but never in his dreams did he expect that she would be so incredibly talented. In just half a month, she had evolved from a Fighter 1 Dan Jushi Realm Pinnacle to Fighter 5 Dan Dingli Realm Pinnacle. This is no longer about being a genius. At this rate, she is about to smash through the heavens. With such talents, she will definitely become a powerhouse. Perhaps, in the future, Xianxia Kingdom will be relying on this lady to usher in an era of prosperity. You dare to challenge me? Unaware of the shock running through the many minds present, witnessing how Zhongshen's students stood in the way of his challenge, Lu Xun's face twitched. If he knew this would happen, he would have said nothing at all. What a dilemma. If he were to back down at this point, people will say that he is scared of them. On the other hand, if he pushes on, others will just think that he is bullying the weak. A victory will bring him no honor, and a loss would bring further humiliation. He felt so stifled that he was about to go crazy. That's right. Even if we can't defeat you, for the sake of Zhong Laosha's honor, we won't regret anything. Zhao Yue and the others declared with absolute resolution. Even the weak-minded Wang Ying didn't back down from this matter. Zhong Laosha took a special existence in their hearts. Their tremendous efforts in the past few days were all to bring him honor. Today, the culprit who wanted to trample over his honor is right before them. They will never allow him to escape. Zhong Laosha, allow us to return you justice. Zhong Laosha, allow us to clear you of the ridicule and contempt the other party had shown you. Those kids. Seeing their actions, even with Zhongshen's strong mental fortitude, having reached the heart of tranquil water, his eyes still reddened. At the very start, the reason why he had accepted these students was so that he wouldn't be expelled from the school, in order to avert the first crises after his reincarnation. Yet, his seed that he had sowed had brought him an entire forest. He wasn't a skilled teacher, and he hadn't intentionally tried to move them either. All he did was to give his all to fulfill his responsibility, not wanting to let anyone down, yet, what he received in return moved him to tears. He had often pondered whether what he was doing was worth it. But now, He realized that a human's heart can't be measured with gold or any other matter. Only when you treat them wholeheartedly will they treat you with equal sincerity. It isn't a matter of whether it is worth it or not, or whether he should do it or not. No wonder they were practicing an offensive formation. Most probably, even if Lu Xun didn't challenge me, they would still challenge him to a battle to get back at him in my stead. At this moment, he finally understood the reason behind the content he saw in the library previously. He felt moved. All along, he had been puzzled over why this bunch of fellows was practicing an offensive collaboration formation. Now, it is clear that they had been preparing for today. They had witnessed Lu Xun forcing the teacher evaluation on him, leaving him in a difficult position and soiling his reputation. Even if Lu Xun hadn't provoked Xianxia today, they would have definitely stepped forward, argued with the latter, and challenged him to a duel. Even though they knew that they weren't a match, even though they knew that what they were doing was suicidal, they nevertheless went on ahead with it. This all just to protect their teacher's honor. These fellows. To think that. Trembling in agitation, Xianxia tried his best to hold back his tears. I mustn't let them take the risk. Just when Xianxia was about to stand up and stop them, his mind suddenly jolted. On a bookshelf in the Library of Heaven's Path, the golden book appeared once more, and a new golden page was in it. This book. Can it be that it is related to the student's gratitude? Seeing the book being formed, Xianxia was stupefied. He had no idea when the golden book was formed before, but this time, the golden book appeared when his students put themselves at stake for him. Could the golden book be related to his students? However, this thought disappeared as soon as it appeared. It wasn't the time to be thinking about such matters. Standing up, he was about to walk up to instruct his students to back off, when all of them turned around at the same time to look at him. Xianxia, this is a decision we made. We hope that you will not interfere. Zhao Ya's clear eyes looked forward. With a slight smile, her voice sounded loudly in the surroundings, and unwavering determination could be heard. You have given so much to us, we just want to give something to you in return. Also, we wish to display to everyone the results of your tutelage, so that everyone will know that your dignity cannot be trampled on. Your honor cannot be sullied. Witnessing the determined and firm gazes of his students, Xianxia's body stiffened and he hesitated. We hope that teacher can agree to our selfish request. Zhao Ya clasped her hands. We hope that teacher can agree to our selfish request. The other four chorused after her. All right, be careful then. If you aren't a match for him, just admit defeat. Don't worry, your teacher is here. No one will dare to trample on me, and no one will be able to trample on me. With his both hands behind his back, Xianxia lifted his eyebrows. A powerful aura suddenly surged forth from his body, reaching even the heavens. Tables and chairs in the surroundings broke into smithereens under the pressure of the intense aura. Tongxian Realm, Pinnacle. A wave of exclamations sounded. Thank you for listening to Panda Audiobooks. If you love what you hear and want to support my work, check out the PayPal link in the description. Every bit helps. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notifications bell to stay updated with all our latest audiobook chapters. We'll see you in the next one.